Hello, hello, hello. I pray you guys have had an amazing day. Sorry, I'm running about 2 minutes behind. Y'all, I just heard my dog going up the stairs. Sound like he tripped a little bit. Trying to get up those stairs. Nevertheless, he's fine. Wanted to come out here. This is something that I've been wanting. I kind of feel like I've briefly mentioned it. I think I even showed the video on here. I was trying to see what platform I showed the video on, and I was thinking to myself, I said, you have to be in YouTube because you use your phone, and I haven't had my other phone over here. I haven't had my other phone over here, but that's that. We're still gonna talk about it. I want to deal. Okay, I want to deal with this. I want to deal with the declaration. This is the declination of mental health. I want to show you a video with this guy's talking about, women who reject him deserve to be essayed. I want to show you something that I have seen, and this is more so a warning. And also this is an awareness message or what have you, so that you can pay attention, keep watch for those of you who are intercessors, so that you will intercede. Give me a second. Okay, you have to click here. Okay. You have to click it. All right, so I got it pulled up. How are you guys doing? I pray that you guys have had an amazing day. As y'all are coming in, I'm just gonna give y'all a little bit of small talk. Can I give you a little bit of a gripe while everybody's coming in? So you guys know I got my short film coming up. I'm excited about it. It's a black tie event. We get to dress up. All of that stuff is beautiful, or what have you. Let me tell you what I found out from my last event, which was the launching of my shop plus this event. Can I tell y'all what I've discovered? Black folk like to wait till the last freaking minute. Y'all, you have no idea how annoying that is. You have no idea how annoying that is. We've had over 100 registrants. We had over 100 registrants. I think like 120, 130, somewhere up in that neighborhood. We've had over 100 registrants, and my objective, I love to have 200, 300 people there. But as of right now, we're at 100 and something. But a couple of the girls at the church that typically do events, they're like, oh, they coming at the last minute. People like to register at the last minute. And that is absolutely annoying. Let me tell you why, so that you won't be one of those people, okay? You won't be one of those black folk. Let me tell you why that's annoying. It doesn't allow us to have a proper head count. So it makes it very hard to purchase stuff. Either you're going to underbuy or overbuy. I'm just giving you small talk as everybody's coming in the room or what have you. Do me a favor. Be sure to like and share Facebook. Remember, let me know that you're here by hitting the like button, hitting the love button, or what have you. And hit some comments over here. I think that today's lesson is going to be really good. It's going to be powerful, and it's going to inform you. If you're staying up with me, I believe that it's going to be worth you losing about an hour or so of sleep. But what I find annoying, is that, like I said, a lot of people like to wait till the last minute. And the reason they like to wait till the last minute is because, and I'm one of those people. When I tell you this has changed me, I'm one of those people that wait till the last minute because I haven't decided whether I want to go or not. Typically, when it comes to an event, I like to wait to see how I feel. And it's annoying to me to see how many people are like that. And it honestly, it humbled me. It's got me to the space where I'm just like, let me make sure that I go ahead and I register or what have you. But I will say this. If you're in the Atlanta, Georgia area, I would love to see you at my debut for my short film. But I will say this. You can also, if you can't be here, you can definitely sponsor somebody else. We gave away some free tickets on today from people that have been sponsoring who said, hey, listen, I would love to come. But I can't, I'm going to be out of town that weekend, or I got this going, I got that going. But they say, hey, but let me sew into you. Let me sponsor somebody else. So you can definitely sponsor. Oh no, there's nothing wrong with black soap, but you can definitely sponsor somebody. I don't know if we have any moderators in the room, but you can definitely sponsor somebody if you want to be a part of the event. So just let me know that you want to sponsor somebody, and I'll make sure I get the information in the comment section. But I want to go ahead and get into this lesson. Let me know, are there any moderators here? I don't think I've seen a moderator as of yet. I don't think I've seen a moderator as of yet. All right, it look like we don't have a moderator tonight. Okay, so we're gonna go into this video. I always like to wait till we have about 100 people on before we go into it. We just hit 100. We just hit 100. Give me a second. I guess I came on too late. Not understanding. I understand. Okay, we're gonna go straight into the video. And I'll likely have to stop because I don't have any moderators. I'll likely have to stop and post up the information. Give me a second. I'll have to stop and post up the information just so that you guys can have the link. For those of you who are coming, I want to make sure I post up the link. It's a black tie event, so we get to dress up. We get to dress up. I got my makeup scheduled. Hello. I got my makeup scheduled. I got a dress on the way. So it's gonna be fun. I gotta go get my nails done. It's a whole lot of stuff that I gotta get done at the same time trying to plan an event. And after this week, I plan to take a break. So I would love for you to register. If you don't want to register, if you say, hey, I'm out of town, I would love for you to sponsor somebody who probably couldn't afford to come. It's like $20. But if you sponsor somebody, in the name part, put sponsor, so we don't assume that you're coming. So if you click that link and you sponsor somebody, and I'll show it here. If you click that link and you sponsor somebody, if you're coming, use your name. If you're sponsoring somebody, make sure you put sponsor so we'll know. You'll be there, Chrissy. I'm excited. I can't wait to see you. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get into this lesson. I'm gonna show you guys a video, and I think, like I said, I'm pretty sure I've already shared this video on the last one. So, but I think that this is something that we have to talk about. I want to talk about rejection. I also want to talk about the decline of mental health and the normalization of mental illness. All right, I'm going to play this.
For rejecting nice guys like me. Excuse me, what?
Hold on, let me see if I can find one that's
great. Will always deserve to be. For rejecting nice guys like me. For the record, if you are expecting an apology for what I said about this, you're not getting one. I said what I said. Who are the community guidelines really protecting when posts like this win their appeal?
I'm trying to see if I find one that's
a little bit.
If
you live or know this man, you need to see these videos. Great. Will always deserve to be for rejecting nice guys like me. And he makes no apologies for what he has said. For the record, if you are expecting an apology for what I said about this, you're not getting one. I said what I said. He's very upset that women don't choose the nice guy, and he wonders why he's single. So I catfished a few chicks before in dating apps, and they blocked me. No matter how nice you are, they will still reject you in a heartbeat. I am untouchable and I am bulletproof. I went viral 2 times before tonight, and nothing ever happened to me, and nothing will ever happen.
Yeah, my phone is doing that thing. Sorry. It's coming back, y'all. It's searching for a signal, I guess. I almost want to play that Jeopardy music in the background. Do me a favor while we're waiting, like and share. I think we can kind of end it there. I think I think we can end it there. That's just gist of it. So like I said, I'm pretty sure I've shared this before. Give me a second. I'm pretty sure I have shared this video before, but I wanted to just kind of have a discussion about it on today. And I want to talk about, again, the normalization of mental illness. Give me a second. Okay. The normalization of mental illness. Okay. I was checking the moderators to see what was going on. But the normalization of mental illness or what have you. So let me just go ahead and get into this lesson. It is what it is. I wanted to talk about this because this mentality, believe it or not, is relatively common. It is not unusual to come in contact with a man who is bitter. Now, he, on the other hand, takes it to another level of bitter because he said that women deserve to be sexually assaulted for rejecting nice guys like him. He sees himself as a nice guy. Now, you can tell looking at him, you can tell by the way he or what have you, could tell that he's not a nice person. In his mind, he believes that he's a nice person. There's a way that seems right to a man, but the end thereof is death. But he sees himself as a nice person. But women, I think we all know that women have for many years now been afraid to directly reject men, to the point where we will give a man a wrong number. At first, we used to get away with that when cell phones weren't that popular. But then now you can't do it, because the guy will store your number in his phone right there while you're standing there. He'll put your number in his phone, and then he'll turn around and call you. And so if you gave him the wrong number, you're not going to get away with it. So a lot of times what women do is they'll actually give the man their real number. And one thing I've advised women to do is just, hey, get a Google voicemail number. Get you a Google voicemail. Don't attach it to your phone. That way it goes to voicemail or what have you. And that way, let's say, for example, if you look at the man and you say, hey, my name is Shonda. For example, you say, hey, my name is Shonda. And he can call your Google voicemail. You say, hey, this is Shonda. Sorry, I missed your call. Leave me a message or what have you. Typically, that'll satisfy him enough. That's going to probably be your better option, unless you're going to get a burner number or something like that. But the point that I'm making is, women for a long time have been afraid to give men the wrong number, because men have rejected, or a lot of men deal with rejection nowadays, and a lot of guys blow up to the point where it can be relatively dangerous, for a woman. Now, I've talked about, and I think I want to talk about it just really briefly, why rejection seems to be so, like, why do men take rejection so hard? Why do they take it so harshly? I can tell you, as a single woman, I can tell you that a lot of times, I may not see like crazy reactions, but nowadays in the Christian community, you may get blocked for rejecting a guy. Men do really weird things whenever they feel rejected by you, and that has a lot to do with being fatherless. We're gonna talk about it. This is gonna be an open discussion today, but we'll talk about it. It has a lot to do with fatherlessness, having not been raised by a father, or having not been raised by a father who was the head of his household. Having not been raised by a father, or having not been raised by a mentally healthy father, a mentally stable father, or a father who is not the head of his household. And when a man is raised like that, so back in the day, even back in my day, and I've talked about this before, even back in my day, if a man decided he wanted to pursue a woman, he was relatively persistent, right? He was relatively persistent. They didn't care that you were going to reject them. You're walking down the street, your neighbor sees you, your neighbor got this crush going on, what have you, and he walks over to you and he says, when you going to let me take you out sometime? You said, no, thank you. He said, oh, come on, don't be like that. You said, no, I'm good. You got a man? I'm talking to somebody. You're talking to somebody. He treats you good. I'm going to take you out. And he would be persistent, but not disrespectfully persistent. And the reason you have to make the reason you have to get clarity nowadays is because there are some guys that will listen in and they're not mentally healthy, right? They'll listen in and they'll think, I have to pursue you and I got to do it with intensity, right? And they don't understand. No, that's called stalking. That's called stalking. That's criminal behavior. But when it comes down to it, the men of old knew when to back down, right? They knew when to stand down. They knew when to back up. But at the same time, their backing up didn't look like today's man's backing up. Today's man's backing up. He gonna turn around and get completely and totally upset with you. Today's days, if I'm living next door to a man and he feels rejected by me, 9 times out of 10, he's just gonna stop speaking to me, which is weird. If I'm living next door to a man and let's say he says, hey, can I take you out? And I say, nah, I don't date neighbors. I don't want to, because where I live. I don't want to have, in case it don't work, I don't want to have those type of problems. So, but hi neighbor, you're cool. Nice to meet you. What have you. Typically nowadays, a man, and I'm saying that this is not normal. We are normalizing dysfunctional behavior. And the more we normalize sin, the more we normalize dysfunction, the more our society begins to decline in mental health. Because anytime you normalize a mindset, then what you're going to have is a large majority of people who are going to adapt to that mindset, who are going to adopt that mindset. And what people have a tendency to do, and I pray I can preach this, but I'm going to try it. What people have a tendency to do is, and I got to make it make sense, because this is why some of y'all deal with depression and suicide ideation. I'm trying to find a way. I see the picture. What people have a tendency to do is, if you put mindsets on levels, right? If you put mindsets on levels, if you did capacities, wisdom, and stuff like that, a person who has wisdom, like they're okay, I'm going to draw it out because I want to make it make sense. I want to draw it out. But a person who has, let's say, and we're going to do the pyramid thing I have a tendency to do. All right. Somebody who's a higher thinker. Somebody who, this means that they've ascended. This means that they've gotten wisdom, knowledge, understanding, revelation. They spent time with God. They've opened some textbooks. They've been very intentional about trying to overcome themselves, overcome their fears, their insecurities, their emotions. So that's going to be somebody who is a higher thinker, right? And when I say higher, I'm not talking about that new age crap. I'm talking about they have more revelation. That means that they have more self-control, they have more understanding, or they have more self-control because they have more understanding. Somebody that's a higher thinker. This is what's being normalized in our society. This right here, anytime I draw the pyramid, I try to get you to understand that this right here is where the majority of society is. The majority of society, this is where cultures are made. Now, cultures can be established up here, but this is where cultures are made. Because this is where the majority of people are. Now, even on level 5, there are tiers. There's the top of the bottom. I think about growing up in the hood. We called it hood rich, right? That meant that you still lived in the hood. You still lived down the street, but you know what? You kept your yard up. You had rims on your cars, even though you came outside and found your car sitting on bricks at time. You still had a little bit more money than most people because either you were selling drugs or somebody in your house was working at a factory. So you had more money than your neighbors, and you were too fearful to move out of the hood. Now, I'm talking about those who were factory workers and those who were RNs and stuff like that. A lot of times they wouldn't move out of the hood because they were so afraid of the new. And so we call that hood rich. So there is a top of the bottom. There is a top of the bottom. When you get to the top of the bottom, you become a celebrity of the bottom. And when I say celebrity, I'm not talking about Hollywood celebrity. You can become a Hollywood celebrity as well. But I'm talking about when you get to the top of the bottom, you start having influence. Now, your objective in Christ is to ascend. That means to get more wisdom, knowledge, revelation. The problem with the average person, the problem or the reason why a lot of people refuse to ascend as it relates to, growing, reading books, going to conferences and just getting more intellectual, getting wiser. The reason that people don't do that is because it takes them away from here. It takes them away from here, which means that if I ascend to here, then I make enemies here. So I can no longer relate to, can two walk together except they be agreed. There are family members and friends and realities that I'm going to become estranged from. And it'll be frustrating because I always teach this. Whenever you come out of one realm of revelation, whenever you come out of one space, that space right, they're going to feel betrayed. Not that you've done anything wrong. You haven't talked about anybody. You haven't stepped on anybody's back. As a matter of fact, when you're first starting to try to come out of it, when you first start finding yourself growing, one of the mistakes that you make, but this is a mistake that most people make, is you're going to try to bring everybody with you. It's typical. When one of the mistakes that you make is that you're going to try to bring everybody with you. And then you start learning a little bit about the human nature. So instead of me knowing something about my cousin and my friend, I started learning human nature, meaning I'm able to classify their behavior. So it's no longer that I can just see my friend, let's say, for example, Nancy. I don't just see Nancy anymore. I see human behavior. I start seeing, okay, this is something that people have a tendency to do. So I'm able to sit back and kind of better understand that, if Nancy's no longer speaking to me, if Nancy's acting funny, and I'm like, Why when I got that promotion on a job and I decided to go to college, why Nancy acting like that? So it becomes, I can't believe Nancy's doing that, until it becomes, I don't understand why people do that. Why do people not understand that when you're growing, when you're doing better, that's not a time to be upset with you. That's a time to celebrate, because that's a revelation that if you broke through, then I can break through too. Right? That's a revelation. But here, most people, trust me, some of you haven't come from out of here yet. And the reason for that is the way that the enemy gets you stuck is rejection. I'm going to say that again. The way that the enemy gets you stuck is rejection, because you were rejected by your father. Your father wasn't present in your life. Maybe your mother wasn't that great of a person. Maybe she raised you, but she rejected you. Or maybe you weren't raised by your parents altogether, but you dealt with rejection. And rejection is a horrible, horrible feeling. I'm talking about, it's a horrible thing to experience. It's something that can be tormenting. And anytime we experience something that is traumatic, especially something that is extensively traumatic, we have a tendency to kind of vow within ourselves, I don't ever want to go through that again. I would never put myself in that situation again. Well, realistically speaking, if you want to grow, if you want to become who God says that you are, if you want to reach the full height of your potential, you have to be willing to be rejected. You have to be willing to have people look at you and say, one of the curse words that we a lot of times in the Black community that we hear is, you think you better. Right? I was raised under that kind of mindset. I was raised where my family, like if somebody started to do better in the family, if somebody decided they wanted better in the family, if somebody decided that, hey, I'm gonna go to school, I'm gonna get therapy, I'm gonna get a good career, then the people that were down here in the family, which was the majority, the people that were down here would, oh yeah, oh, she thinks she better, she needs to be knocked off a high horse, high horse, what goes up must come down. They would sit back, and they would say all kinds of stuff. And what that did for the kids is, it made the kids upset, and the kids started to adapt to that mindset. So consequently, you have a generational curse of people never want to come out of here. And then, and I know I'm speaking to somebody. I may not be speaking to everybody, but I know I'm speaking to somebody. Then what ends up happening to you is you mess around and do something different. You mess around and stand out, and you get attacked. You mess around. I said this is gonna be an open discussion tonight. You mess around and do something. Excuse me. You mess around and do something, and you get attacked. I'll give you an example. I remember growing up poor, right? Growing up poor, and growing up in poverty. And I remember that I had, girls at the school that didn't like me. And I'm talking about junior high or what have you. Going to the school, I had girls at the school that didn't like me, right? They wanted to be bullies, but at the end of the day, I fought back. They wanted to be bullies, so they had to bully from a distance. They had to say something smart, say something nasty, what have you. And I remember, like, anytime I wore new clothes, anytime I wore something that was trending, there was always somebody that had something to say. Oh, look at Tiffany's shoes. Tiffany's shoes. Look at Tiffany. You got them things. You got this, you got that. What was that? That person was attempting to tell me, hey, listen, if you have the audacity to walk up in this school with your hair done, with this done, if you have the audacity to do that, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to shame you. I'm going to shame you. It was an attempt to bully you into not dressing up. It was an attempt to bully you into not doing anything. And hear me when I say this. People wouldn't do it if it didn't work. They wouldn't do it if it didn't work. They did it because it worked on some people. It didn't work on me. You were just going to have to fight me. But they did it because it worked on some people. Some people, they go to school and they wear some new shoes and they get made fun of. They get somebody say something to them and they decide, I don't ever want to deal with that humiliation again. And so you know what they do? They go back to their old shoes and they just keep wearing their old shoes. They try to stay underneath the radar. Like I tell you, I'm talking to somebody on here. You don't even realize that you were bullied. That the enemy, this is how he controls you, right? He uses people to control you. And so he weaponizes rejection. And one thing about rejection is whenever you deal with rejection, you want to fit in. You try to fit in to the people you're called to lead. You try to fit in to the people you're called to lead. So rejection makes you like you have those peers, right? A lot of times, I don't think a lot of people realize when you don't fit into a group, it's because God doesn't want you to settle in that mindset. You got to understand, anytime you see groups, anytime you see the clotting of minds, when you see minds starting to come together, what you have is called agreement, right? And a lot of times what happens is they're all on some rim. Wherever people begin to clot and they get to the point where they're immobile and they're not being that creative, that productive, then what you're going to have is people who are just kind of stuck. They're kind of stuck in their rim. If God, when God gets you, God is always looking for that person who's willing to continue to go up. Right? That means that once you come out of here and you get here, you don't try to fit in with everybody. You be nice, you be kind, show yourself friendly or what have you. But it is not the will of God for you to get comfortable. It is not the will of God for you to settle down there. And some of you, your problem is toxic loyalty. The minute you get to level 4, you're going to form friendships and then you won't go nowhere. You will form friendships and then you won't go anywhere because you feel loyal to them. You feel like, well, I don't want them to be mad at me. And somehow instinctively, you know, oh, she's going to be mad if I put out this book, if I write this book, she's going to be mad at me. No, that's not how you do. What you're supposed to do is sit back and you do what thus said the Lord. You deal with the warfare. This is what makes you stronger. This is what makes you wiser. You try to encourage your friends. Hey, sis, let's go do this. You know what? You got a book and you too, sis, girl, get that book out. Let's go do this thing. You encourage, but understand that not everybody is going to ascend with you, because some people, rejection will always cause you to get stuck at the level that you're on. The level that you're trying to impress people is the level you get stuck at. The level where you're trying to impress people, well, I just want them to accept me. I just want them, you're going to get stuck. Because every level, hear me, every level has principles and every level has principalities. Every level has principles and every level has principalities. The principles are the rules and everything that's been normalized on that level. The principalities are the governing spirits that are set. So if we looked at it from here, the principality, give me a second. Go get on the couch. So if we looked at it from here, now I know these look like stick people, but we're gonna pretend they principalities because I don't feel like trying to draw no monster. But the principality over this particular region of thought is set up on the stage of principles. That's the principles that have been normalized. Now there are also rulers and powers on that level. So those are the principles that have been normalized. In order for me to impress and to fit in with everybody, I have to be able to relate to them. Now, go up, get on the couch, up. Sorry, y'all. If I don't do that, he's gonna walk around in circles and be very distracting. And that's his way of getting me, letting me know that he wants attention. All right, that's my baby. That's my baby. But here, there are principles and there are principalities. You will always know when you're starting to shake up the dust, because then you're gonna start feeling ousted. You're gonna start feeling like, I don't necessarily feel like I fit in. I feel like I'm being judged by people. I don't feel like people understand me. Now, let me be careful with that, because some of you, if you're dealing with mental health issues, you're going to feel that anyhow. So you want to make sure you have a multitude of counselors so you can get clarity. Don't just make that decision within your own head, because your head may not be healthy enough. But on this particular level, you're going to have principalities. Those principalities are set up. Okay, let me say it this way. Think about the hood. There are principalities over hoods, right? When you go to Chicago, there's a principality of murder. When you come to Georgia, there's a principality of perversion. When you go to California, there's a principality of witchcraft, vanity, perversion, or what have you. So there are principalities over each level. In the hood, there are principalities, right? There are certain things that are normalized in the hood. And what can I say this? Can I say this out loud? Can I say this with my chest? And I'm talking about in the black community. We know that there are hoods in the white community, there are hoods in every other community, but they're not necessarily referred to as hoods. Typically, when it's white community, they'll call it trailer park. And that doesn't mean you live in a trailer park, you live in a hood. But typically, that's what they associate with. And in other communities, it's called the slum or what have you. But talking about it, the hood in the black community, some of the stuff that's normalized is the objectification of women, the sexualization of women. What's normalized is baby mama culture. What's normalized is no accountability. What's normalized is relying on the government. What's normalized is division amongst women. What's normalized is what else? What else? What else? What's normalized is misprioritization of funds, where you put more effort into trying to please people than you are trying to build real estate, trying to set up a secure future for your family, for your children. That's what's normalized. Using your children to try to get money, trying to pay off, not wanting to pay bills. Those are certain things that are normal. Like, right, men not working. That's what's normalized in many communities. So when you start, that's normalized in the black hood community. What's also normalized in black hood is dishonor. What's the nature of a curse, right? It's the nature of a curse. It's dishonor. So a lot of times people will park across their own grass. People don't care about the condition because most people don't own their homes, right? And so I'm not talking about every black neighborhood. I'm talking about the hood. But people park across grass. Your neighbors don't respect you. There's a lot of fighting because there's a lack of respect. People don't understand boundaries. Everybody keeps on trying to, you know, increase their boundaries. Like, for example, if you're not your yard neighbor, somebody else's yard, a lot of times you got to communicate to them, hey, get your children because they're in my grass, and they're like, that's not your grass, that's my grass. You fight over dumb stuff, right? That's what's normalized in a lot of hoods, right? That's normalization. If you go into the hood and you go in and you have a different mindset, if you have a mindset where you respect your neighbors, if you have a mindset where you keep your yard clean, if you have a mindset where you try to be friendly and all that other stuff, you will be seen as what? Bougie. You will be seen as bougie, meaning you will have a label placed on you. You will have a label placed on you. So there are principalities. There are things that are normalized in the black and lower black, because you got to understand that's not the entirety. We got to make that clear. That's not the entirety of Black America, but there is a large number of blacks, just like there's a large number of whites here, a large number of Latinos here. There's a large number of Asians here. There are large numbers, but that's what's normalized. That is those are principles, and which means that they are governed by principalities. They're governed by principalities. Principalities are ruling spirits. Ruling spirits sit back and normalize drug addiction, the selling of drugs, and no snitch culture. That's a principality. That's a principality. And when you adapt to that, then you go under the rulership, the governance of that particular principality, right? So you have this level of thinking. You're going to have a principality over that. And hear me, it has nothing to do with where you live. When we talk about this, it has nothing to do with where you live. It has everything to do with what you submit yourself to. It has nothing to do with where you live. It has everything to do with the mindset you submit yourself to. So we see a lot of people, for example, when we start talking about hip hop industry and stuff like that, people who have talents that God gave them, and they're perverted. So they're out here rapping, talking about be hoe, and the women out here naked and doing all that stuff, and they get rich and they have influence, right? So what's happening is you have somebody who grows, and people grow from the applause, right? Because you're giving authority, you're giving support. You have people who are here in thought, but they are able to go up here. Now they're not here in thought, but they're able to start having bringing their influence. Their influence grows to where they start normalizing ungodly, dysfunctional, toxic, and narcissistic cultures in other regions of thought. So what ends up happening is, let's say that you're here, but you deal with rejection. You want to fit in so bad. You were raised in a better household than most people, right? You want to fit in so badly. I'm talking about that is your passion. You want people to like you or what have you. Then what you end up doing, and this is where we start talking about Jezebel and all this other stuff. What you end up doing, even though you're here in thought, you relinquish your authority to somebody here. And so you allow that person to basically live in your experience. Basically, it's like an exchange, right? You relinquish yourself, so you start following somebody. You start just following up behind somebody who has confidence in their ignorance. They have confidence in it, so they loud, they can go places and stuff like that. They may have a degree of intelligence, but they have a lot of people that are, that they got their back, they got a large family, they got a lot of stuff, and you start looking up to that. So consequently, you will submit yourself to this. And anytime you submit yourself, whenever you have a higher degree of thinking, anytime you submit yourself to somebody who is on a lower plane, anytime you submit yourself to that way of thinking, you will deal with oppression, not just rejection, depression. Now, rejection is not just going to be a feeling when you're rejecting people. The root of rejection comes from you rejecting God. So everything is a mirrored effect in the spirit realm. Your life in the earth is a reflection of your spiritual life. Your life right here, your natural life is a reflection. So anything you give to God, whatever man sow, that shall he also reap. Whatever you give to God is what you're going to reap. So if you reject God over on this plane, in this life, you're going to get some rejection. In this life, you're going to deal with rejection. So God is saying, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and everything else will be added to you. Don't worry about no man. Don't worry about friends. Just worry about me. Just chase me. And I'll give you the man. I'll give you the friends. I'll give you all of that stuff. Just chase me. But you say, 1 minute, God. Wait, 1 minute. So what you say again? You like me? Sister Elizabeth, God bless you. You like me? You want me? What you want about me? What you like about me? And you over here, you giving this man your attention. You start to experience that spiritually. So you end up reaping that because you're doing that to God. So what God sees is your back turned to him. So you're talking to this man, and what you're going to reap is that at some point that man's going to reject you. At some point, that same man, two, 3 kids deep, 3 kids later, that man will look and decide, yep, had you, bored, and then he walks away. And a lot of times what happens with people is that you start thinking, what did I do wrong? This is what, y'all, can I speak to my sisters real quick? Brothers, you can hear this, but can I say, I've said this and I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again with my chest. One of the things that the enemy does with women is that he convinces you that you are a victim, because he understands that it's like the food chain. As long as you see yourself as a victim, you stay on the lower part of the food chain, because victims attract predators. That's how it is. If you're a rabbit, then you're going to have a whole lot of predators. There's a lot of things, because you out here eating carrots and lettuce and whatever you can find, any type of plant. You're not eating meat. You're not a meat eater. Then there are going to be meat eaters coming after you. That's spiritual. So anytime you see yourself as a victim, but the thing about being a victim is that there's this attractiveness to that, whereas typically you find this one time where you are justifiably able to be a victim. Maybe somebody gets their wings and go to heaven, or what have you, and you got the right to be hurt. You got the right, or what have you. Maybe you end up going through a divorce and you were beat and a whole lot of crazy stuff, and you have the right to be a victim. But the problem is you end up liking that. You end up liking the attention that you get from that. You end up liking it because you don't have to take accountability. And when you don't have to take accountability, you don't have to change. Tiffany, you're beautiful. Thank you, sis. God bless you. When you don't take accountability, when you don't feel like you have to take accountability, you don't necessarily feel the need to change, right? You don't feel the need because it's his fault, is their fault, is everybody else's fault but your own. So one thing that you find with women, and I have to call it out as a female, because if a man calls it out, then y'all will be arguing with him. So I have to come out as a female, and I have to tell you, I've seen this as a woman. What's wrong with a lot of women is that we were taught to take accountability. We were taught to look at things from a my intentions perspective. I wasn't planning to do that. I was good to him. I was faithful to him. But we never look at the root of the thing. And we have so many people that support us. We have so many people that say, girl, don't worry about him. Don't even worry about him. I'm glad you got away from him anyhow, because I felt like you could have did better than him, girl. I'm just trying to tell you, he looked like the bottom of somebody's shoe. And that girl he with, Girl, when I tell you she looked like an upside down eel, you know, I'm just so glad you got away from him. Okay. And so she messed up, he messed up, they make a good couple, and girl, you gonna go get your, instead of telling you, sis, why'd you go here? Why did you go here? You found him here. Do you know that do you know that everybody down here is a slave? Do you know that everybody down here is a slave? They're slaves. They are the they're a slave to culture. They're a slave to principles. They're a slave to that. And in order for them to break through, they got to make some folks mad. And like I said, it's not something that you do. You don't walk around making people mad, because typically you have people that are hood rich and what have you. You have those nasty old ladies in the hood, right? And they say, stay off my grass. And they act real bougie and real nasty and stuff like that. I'm not talking about that because they don't go nowhere. They stay in the hood the rest of their life. I'm talking about you have to grow in thought. That means that you have to sit back and say, when somebody comes up to you and they say, girl, I love my pink. Thank you. God bless you. God bless you. Girl, that man there, I'm telling you, girl, he came over to my house the other day. You got to sit back and say, girl, this like the third dude that came to your house in 3 weeks. What's going on with you? Please don't tell me you busted for open for him too. At what point do you get tired of being loose? See, here, that'll get you cussed out. Okay. Reprove a wise man and he'll grow wiser. Don't cast your pearls to swine. You reprove a fool, and what is it? Hold up, because I want to make sure I get it right. Reprove means to correct. I want to make sure. Okay, this is Proverbs 9:8 Amplified Bible. I read it. Do not correct a scoffer who foolishly ridicules and takes no responsibility for his error, or he will hate you. Correct a wise man who learns from his error, and he will love you. That's a translation from. Okay, let me go. Proverbs 9:8. Sister Jasmine, thank you. God bless you. Reprove a scorner lest he hate thee. Rebuke a wise man, and he will love thee. Here, if you go and rebuke somebody, they're going to hate you. They're going to quit. They're going to talk about you. They're going to do a lot of crazy stuff because they don't see rebuke as you making me ready for the next level. They don't see it that way. They see it as you judging me. You don't like me. They see it as you hating on me. That's how they see it. This is how you know if you're dealing with a wise person versus a foolish person. If you're dealing with a wise person, if a friend of mine corrects me and she says, Tiffany, I'm tired of you you've been snippy lately. I've noticed you ain't been that way with me, but I've noticed that you're a little bit this, and I'm tired of you doing that. I don't know what you're doing to yourself, but I think what you're gonna have to do, I think you need to get therapy. That's not bad. I'm gonna say it again. That's not bad. She's not my enemy for saying that. She's my friend. See, you got to know where you at. If to you somebody says that to you, you're here. If I want to go here, then I need people in my life that sit back and tell me, I think you need to set up a session with Apostle Ivy Hopkins. Rebuke a wise man and he grows wiser. You rebuke a wise man, we ain't going to take offense to it because I respect the fact that you love me enough to say that you're not operating in your full potential. And I see a declination of your and I don't want that to happen to you. I don't want that to happen to you. I see so much in you. I don't want that to happen to you. That's a friend. You can't do that to somebody on this level. Everybody on this level is dancing, partying, frolicking, and foolishness. They just sitting up doing what they want to do. Everybody on that level. A lot of cultures are made on a lot of music videos. You the woman twerking all over the place. or what have you, the men sitting up there acting like gods or what have you. A lot of stuff is created on this level. A lot of stuff is created on this level, this is where the media is. This is where your sound waves are coming from. This is where the media is coming from. And all of that's being popularized. And so everybody on these other levels are being influenced. And as they're being influenced, if they fall under the influence, they go into a decline. This is where we start calling mental health issues. They start to go into a decline. They start to go into a decline because they're under the influence of the world, the spirit of the world. They're under the influence of the things of this world. They're under the influence of foolishness, right? I'm thinking, I've been in the book of Proverbs lately. I'm trying to think of that scripture. I've been in the book of Proverbs. I made my mind. Once I'm done with the book of Proverbs, I'm going to go back to it. I want to go back to the book of Proverbs again and again and again and again. I really want to memorize. I'm trying to see what that scripture said. What did that scripture say? Basically, it is a shame for a wise man to go under a fool. It is a shame. And one part of judgment was, I remember Israel at some point, that they would have children for their leaders. In other words, you would have people who were here, and then they would have people from here ruling over them. And that is nothing more oppressing than to have somebody ruling over you who sit back talking about some yeah, make it drop. Come on, push it back. And you're like, is this what we gonna do? Most of us start here, but few get out. In order to get out, there's a level of warfare. There's a love you have. Okay, look to the hills from whence cometh your help coming from the Lord. In order to get out from here, you literally have to take your focus off of men or women, to my brothers in Christ. You have to take your focus off of people, and you have to put your focus on God. You just got to say yes. There is no other way. I'm putting it to you plain, right? I took the condom off the truth because the truth can't produce anything if it's wearing a condom. You literally have to take your plans off of the menu. The menu can't be the menu anymore. It has to be what we're eating today. This is what we eat. You have to literally tell your soul every day, I'm chasing God. A man will come when God says he's ready for a man to come. A woman will come when God says he's ready for a woman to come. I'm putting my effort, my thought, my attention, I'm putting everything that I am and everything that I have into God. I surrender to you, God. I say yes to your will, period, point blank. This is how you begin to ascend. You open up a book. You take accountability. You get therapy. You make sure that you have your multitude of wise counselors. You show up at Bible study, not just at church on Sundays mornings, meaning you begin to break up religion. You build a relationship with God that's so tangible that you can identify a doctrine that's not, godly versus godly doctrine, right? You build your relationship with God. That's how you begin to ascend. But hear me again, when you begin to ascend, what's going to ultimately happen is that you're going to offend this way of thinking. Hear me. Every time you leave a level, you have to be okay with defending that level, because you're coming past that principality. And when you start coming past that principality, as soon as you start ascending, there are levels of warfare that you'll go through. There are levels of warfare that because you're ascending the hill of the Lord. This is in thought, but there are levels of warfare that you're going to go through. There are principalities on each level that are going to deploy an attack against you because you're ascending. And so you'll have people that's falling away, people talking about you and all that other stuff. You have to be okay with that. You have to sit back and make peace with that. Have your multitude of counselors, use wisdom, and you have to be willing to continue to ascend. And understand that there are people that are going to fall away. Okay, I'll say it this way. And then we're going to move on and we're going to talk about that video. Transitioning. I think about when my seal and logo company, and I've talked about this before. I remember when I first started off in business, I had some of the most difficult clients known to man. I got the seal and logo company making bishop seals and stuff like that, and logos for ministries. I had some of the most difficult clients known to man when I first started off because my prices were so low. I didn't have any rules up. You have no idea what you attract when you have no walls around what you're building. You have no idea the hell you'll go through when you have no principles, no no guidelines, when you don't have anything up around, because that represents passivity, that represents ignorance, it represents fear, and it's a city without walls. The type of people that I attracted to me, I still got stories. I still got stories from the stuff that I went through. I don't go through that now. I don't go through that now. You know why? Because God kept telling me, take your prices up. And he told me, put some rules. And he would literally tell me what rules to put up. I didn't want to do it because I was down here as it relates to my business. I was down here and I wasn't making that many sales, but I was like, if I do that, I felt like the little sales I was making, I felt like they were going to go away. I'm going to give you a little bit of revelation. We're going to get back into this, but I promise it's going to help you. Put some of you anyhow. I'm down. I was down there. I get my fair share, but I wasn't doing that well in sales. So my fear was, if I make that adjustment, my clients will go away. If I take my prices up and I put more rules, my client's going to go away. So I wouldn't listen to God. No matter what God told me, I kept putting it off. God let business get so hard for me to the point where I no longer wanted to do it. And once he got me to the place, this gonna help somebody, that I was real. When I got to the place where I didn't want to do it no more, I didn't want to work with God's people because I was like, they ghetto. I was like, they got issues. When I got to that space, I was willing to listen to God. Not to save my business, I was willing to close my business. And you know what God gave me? He showed me this. Well, why don't you, if you're gonna close it, if you're gonna kill it, why don't you just go ahead and do what I told you to do? Me taking my prices up, putting rules, was my attempt to smother my business. It wasn't just I was obeying God. It was just that I was over it. I did that with my web designing firm. I did that with my web designing company. I kept taking my prices up. That was me firing myself. That was me saying, you're gonna make it worth my while. If you're gonna hire me, because I don't feel like going through no hell with God's people. I don't feel like going through no stuff with the people of God or what have you. Want me to work for them for a week and want to give me less than $1,000? The devil is a crackhead lie. No, I'm not doing that no more. So I took my prices up and I kept taking them up or what have you. I stopped promoting it. I took my prices up on my ceiling logos. This is gonna help you. I want you to take something from it. I took my prices up on my sales and logo. I went throughout my website and I started putting penalties and prices. One revision cost this, two revisions cost that. I put that up and my greatest fear came to reality. See, it's not going to stop that fear from having. My greatest fear came to reality. But by this time, I didn't care. My fear was that I would take it up and there would be silence. No orders coming through. And that's what happened. I had a few repeat clients that reached out and they're like, hey, your price, your site says this. And I'm like, yeah. And I only get one. Yes, ma'am. You gave me hell. Okay. But I always make the joke that initially my clients sound like, I like to order a logo, please. And that's it. Understand that, y'all. Oh, if I say this, Lord, okay. Can I say this? Yeah, I can. There are ministries here. I'm talking about people who are in leadership who have that they got a small mind. They're small minded. There are ministries here. There are ministries here. There are ministries here. And there are ministries here. Okay? I've worked with over 1,000 leaders. And so my initial clients sound like I like to order, and that type of client, manipulative, excuse me. They will manipulate, they'll try to prophesy to get a free logo. They try everything underneath the sun. You have no idea what I've seen. But I went through the transition, right? I went through the transition. And once I went through that transition where I wasn't getting any clients, I went through that transition where the clients that were reaching out to me were former clients, like, hey, I see your prices went up. I see you got rules on your website, all that, what happened? And I'm telling them, yeah, this is this and this is that. All of a sudden, one day, some months down the road, I get a call. And this is just how I remember it. Maybe I'm just dramatic or what have you, but I get a call. Hello, my name is Dr. Such and Such. I'd like to place an order. It went from I'd like to place an order for a logo. And I'm gonna get back in this, but I'm gonna say this. This is just my experience talking. I like to place good order for a logo would want 1,000 things on his logo because he's trying to look fancy. I'm talking about the order form. It's like 50 items you can select, right? Typical standard person, you select about 4 items. If you want something, you said you maybe 6 or 7 because you want, let's say if you got 4 centers and you maybe want an Ark of the Covenant, a dove, you want an earth, and maybe you want a family, right? And all of the quadrants or what have you. Then you may want lines on the side, a crown on the top, and that's about it. Maybe keys on there, what have you. That's about it. But the lower in thought, the more people want it. I'm just telling you what I was observed. The lower in thought, they'd be like, instead of selecting like 7 items, it would be like 25. I kid you not. 25, 40, and it'd be a lot of words. It'd be like, put this in a circle, put a ribbon with this, fine. And I would literally have to call these clients in many cases and say, there's no way to get all of that on that design. And I would tell them, you need a website because you're trying to turn your design into your website. The lowest price people want the most. It's the same thing. It's the same here. People, a man who's here wants wife activity while he's a boyfriend. A man up here somewhere understands you're the weaker vessel and he wants to pour into you. Sorry. If nothing taught me anything, God used business to teach me a lot. If nothing taught me anything, God used the realm of business to teach me a lot. Because nowadays, my clients are typically here, here, and here. My silly logo company, I don't have to promote it. God runs it. I always say it runs itself, but God runs it. It's number 1 on Google. It does well. I don't have to do anything. My clients are here, here, and here. Nowadays, they don't clown me about money. You hear me? At one point, I would be arguing with somebody over a $99 thing. And I'm trying to get them to understand. But I want another revision. You've had your free revision, sir. But I don't understand why you telling me I got to pay $49 for another. You're going to have to pay. That's what's on the website. But you changed your mind, sir. That client would want an incredible amount of time and an incredible amount of grace, but he would not want to give it. My clients now, not so much. My clients nowadays, I'm saying that to say that every time you leave a realm of thought, there is a transition period where your greatest fears do oftentimes come to reality. You have no friends. When you transition from here to here, this little chasm here, there's a time where everybody down here is mad at you and everybody up here is scared of you. Sorry. There's a time where everybody down here is mad at you and you can't relate to them. You don't feel like you have anybody you can talk to. You feel alone. And the people up here, you still smell like what you came from. You still look like what you still walking around. You got that accent, you got the clothing, all of that. And so people on that in that level of thought are going to be standoffish from you because you just came out of here. And here at some point, you're gonna normalize. You're gonna find your place. You're gonna find your voice. You're gonna find your people. You're gonna find all of those things. You're gonna acclimate. The objective is not for you to get too comfortable there. You can't get comfortable there. Your objective is to get here, to do what you're supposed to do, and continue to ascend. To continue to study, continue to build, continue to do what God told you to do until it's time for you to leave here. Now, when you get ready to leave here, please hear me. And I got to get back to this message. When you get ready to leave here, some people are going to be mad at you because they're going to feel left behind. And even though you're like, come on, you know what? I'll support you on it. They're going to get mad because the way they see it is, I thought we were going to kick it. We can, but you just got to come on. Come on. You know, let's go do this. Let's go do that. And I'm not talking about doing stuff. I'm talking about in thought. They're not going to want to ascend. They're going to want to continue to talk about what Big Craig and little Shirley did, right? Or Big Shirley and little Craig did. Girl, you know they got into a fight. Girl, they got into a fight on the lawn. For real? Mm-hmm. She sat on him. He couldn't even fight. She sat on him. He just ended up there squealing like a little girl or what have you. She even made a phone call while she was sitting on him. She made a phone call. Girl, for real, yep. Was paying a bill with her credit card. She was like, 463. No, MasterCard. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Shirley. Uh-huh. Did you okay? They're gonna want to continue to talk about that. You, on the other hand, I want to talk about life in general, building, God, kingdom stuff, wisdom lay stuff. You're gonna want to talk about something different. They're gonna want to talk about, girl, did you hear? Did you hear about them twins? What twins? You know them two dudes. What their name is? Tyrone and Jerome. Oh, no, what happened to them? Girl, as it turned out, they were dating the same woman. They didn't even know it. And she claimed that she didn't know that it was they were different guys, but she should have known. But she said she thought that Tyrone was, schizophrenic, and he just called himself Jerome from time to time. But it turned out that they were dating the same old dude, and she didn't know it. Now she's pregnant, and she don't even know who the daddy is. And they said they don't even know if the DNA test gonna work because they twins or what have you. And now she don't know who she want to be with. Tyrone went to jail because he hit across the head. Yep, they said it chipped a piece of her skull. He hit across the head, or what have you. Jerome in the hospital with her while Tyrone is in jail, but she can't stop talking about Tyrone because she realizes that, because she used to think that he was schizophrenic because she felt like Jerome was like the lower level of him. Like when he called himself Jerome, he would talk stupid and stuff like that. But when he called himself Tyrone, he would be the higher, he would be real wise and really intelligent and stuff like that. And so now she kind of feel like she want Tyrone, but she did like Jerome's, like his crazy side or what have you. So yeah, it's a lot of stuff going on with them. That's interesting. Me, on the other hand, I'm gonna be like, that's a book. That's a book. In fact, go talk to her and tell her, girl, you need to put that in a book. You can put that in a book. All right, so let me just kind of go ahead and move on over here. It's a whole novel, I'm trying to tell you. Let me go ahead and move on over here. We talked about, we started off with the guy that said that women deserve to be sexually assaulted for rejecting good men. Now, I wanted to talk about why, and I've talked about this before, but there are a lot of new people on here. Welcome. But I want to talk about why rejection is so hard for men to take nowadays. And y'all have heard me talk about this before, but it's going to help you. Why? And this is for my brothers in Christ, it will help you as well. And I'm going to move through this, and I'm going to talk about the declination or normalization of mental illness. The reason it is hard for men, I've said this before, is because it's still new to men. Rejection is still new to men from women, not from society. If you start talking about, especially an African American man, he's got trauma from being an African American man in America, right? He's got trauma from his parents who were traumatized, and they were traumatized by their parents. They were also traumatized by society, right? A lot of the white community, not entirety of the white community, but a lot of white community, because we're still in, I don't think people realize we're still in the freshness of that. And I think a lot of times we say everything isn't race, and it isn't, honestly, because a lot of people use race to justify their toxic behavior when there is ways for them to get out. But realistically speaking, if you really take the time to sit and look at it, it's still kind of new. So you're still dealing with generational issues that come from that, right? It's still passing down. You still see a lot of those generational issues. So even regardless of white community, black community, it was frowned upon for a woman to walk away from her guy. And I've talked about this before. Women made 4 times less than men. Women can only get jobs as secretaries or admins, cashiers, nurses, school teachers, and stuff like that. And women were not paid a working salary. Women were typically paid just enough. It was more like a hobby, right? It was just like something for her to get her hair done. They weren't paid that much. They made 4 times less than men. Back then, they didn't wear condoms like we did. A matter of fact, they demonized birth control back then. They thought it was of the devil. And so women typically had on average between 5 to 10 children. The average woman, your grandma, your great grandma, and them, they were busting it open. They got a whole lot of kids, right? And so the man was the breadwinner. The woman had to rely on the man to provide for her. If a woman tried to leave her husband, she was sent back to him. That was culture. That was culture. If a woman tried to leave, that and not to say that it's good for a woman to leave her husband. It's not to say that's good. It is to say that there were cases where it would have been justified because the man had been abusing the woman. The man was abusing her. He was out there cheating. He was out there bringing. I think the disease of that area was, what is that disease? It wasn't chlamydia. I think chlamydia was hit, but it's another disease, another STD. I feel like it starts with an S. I feel like it starts with an S. Anywho, somebody might know what I'm talking about. But the disease was running rampant. Syphilis. Thank you. Syphilis. Thank you. Syphilis was running rampant at that time. Chlamydia, I think, was pretty hot, but syphilis was running rampant at that time. During the 80s is when we started seeing the rise of HIV. And during the 80s is when we started seeing the rise. In the 90s, HIV took off. It was like a pandemic. But syphilis, great granddaddy and great granddaddy was bringing grandma home syphilis. And the woman couldn't afford to leave. Her family would typically tell her, if you leave your husband, you can't come stay with us. Your kids, you can't do this or what have you. So what ended up happening was a lot of guys, what became normalized, that men could do what they wanted to do. Gonorrhea. I'm wondering if, and I think it was syphilis. But a lot of guys could do what they want to do, and they never risked rejection. Women had to deal with rejection, not so much with men. And so now what ends up happening is we start seeing a transition over the years. Women start fighting for equal rights in the workplace. They start fighting for equal rights in society, which was nothing wrong with that. They start fighting for equal rights, and then you ended up having a lot of women that could actually afford, right, to walk away. That can sit back and say, hey, this isn't normal. I shouldn't be getting my butt kicked every night. I shouldn't be trying to have to set up an appointment at the doctor or use some type of weird treatment to try to get myself free from the crap that he's done or what have you. Nowadays, it's cultural where a woman goes to college and women are ascending in the workplace more than men. So nowadays, you have a lot of women that are going to college to be doctors. A lot of women going to college to be lawyers. You have a lot of women going to college to do those type of things. And so now women feel like, hey, my daddy doesn't have a choice in the matter. Women feel like, hey, I can reject a guy. So for guys, it's normal. It's not so normal. Not all men, but for men, it's not so normal. It is still at a weird space with men when they're rejected by a woman, especially during World War I and II, right? And so this is what we're dealing with, is that it's still relatively new. Not so much as new on the front where you would just say no to a man, but it's new on the front where, like, if you're in a relationship with a guy, and let's say that guy is choke slamming you, right? And he's kicking you in your forehead every third Tuesday, and you get up and walk away. There's a high probability of him feeling like he needs to take your life, because that right there is something. See, once you've done it for generations, it becomes easier to do. So because our mothers dealt with rejection for generations, women, we are okay with dealing with rejection. I won't say we've arrived yet, but for the most part, we are okay with it. We may cry. You have some women that are a little bit more bitter. They'll keep on taking, the issue to court. But for the most part, women have learned to acclimate. They've learned to kind of navigate through it, what have you. Men, not so much. A lot of men have not learned to move through that. So consequently, we see this video of this young man, right? No telling what he's gone through in his life, but it's very clear that he is mentally unstable. It's very clear that he's not healthy mentally. It's very clear that he's gone through some trauma. Let's not ignore that. We can look at the monster he became, but sometimes in order to get an understanding, you have to go back to the root. So we don't know what happened to him. And I'm not trying to justify his behavior. I'm not trying to draw sympathy for him. What I'm trying to say is that, and this is to help you to understand, so a lot of you, so you don't end up creating monsters with your own kids. That you don't end up creating a monster by having a rotating door of men. Now, I don't know if that's what his mom did. I don't know what she did by having a rotating door of men, or by neglecting your child, or by mismanaging a child because his father is no longer with you, but you're upholding and you're praising a child and rewarding a child because the father is present in your life, or the father is active, or you're still attracted to the father, but this other guy represents the man that you can't stand, and you end up raising him like that. Whenever you start seeing guys coming up like that, whenever you start seeing that type of mentality, believe it or not, what you're watching, you're witnessing is what's wrong with our society. What you're witnessing is this, because believe it again, believe it or not, there were actually guys who went and liked his video. There were actually guys who went and supported him, just like there were men who supported Kevin Samuels. So you're watching the decline. Don't let me say declination, but you're watching the decline of society. You're watching a decline of society. You're watching both men and women. So let me say this. Remember, I told you the cultures down here are dark and ungodly. This is your hood of sorts. This is your trailer park. This is your slum. The culture down here is dark and ungodly. It's toxic, right? This is your 1%. These are the thinkers, and these are who create a lot of the jobs. They create a lot of this. This is your middle class. This is where most people fall. Your middle class. The objective is for more people to rise here so we can turn this upside down, for more people to rise here so that we could normalize a better way of thinking. But instead, we have politics. We have a lot of different things that support. Okay, I was thinking about this the other day. I'm trying to find my thoughts, but I was thinking about this the other day. And this right here, gonna give me probably 2 unfollows and 800 new follows, okay? I was thinking about this the other day. How, I'm trying to see how to say this. There's no nice way to say it. There's no nice way to say it. In politics, what we've done, everybody, and I'm not saying that everybody shouldn't have a voice. I'm not saying that. But the mistake that America made was that it traumatized the majority, uplifted the minority, but gave voices to the majority. So, okay, they're causing their own sabotage. Okay. If I oppress, imagine this. Let's say I had 25 kids and I had 2 golden children. If I took the other 23 and I oppressed them, I beat them, I ridiculed them, I mismanaged them, I caused all types of trauma in their lives or what have you. But then I give them all the PIN number to the account to do what they should do. I'm going to say it again, but I got to make it make sense. If I gave them all power of authority, let's say that I gave them all power of authority over me, right? If I sat back and I said it's all about the majority, I said to the lawyer, I said, listen, it's all about the majority. The majority gets to decide what I'm going to do, right? What they're going to do. I was wrong for breaking those 23 kids. But when I gave them power of authority, the majority of vote is going to be for my decline. Did that make sense? Please tell me if I'm making sense. If I said to my attorney, all of my children have power of authority, which I don't think you could do, but we're just making that as an example. If I said to my attorney, all 25 of my kids have power of authority, but I traumatized 23 of them. And I say it's all about the vote. So they all have to vote. Like let's say if I'm on a machine, they all get to vote whether to pull the plug. When it comes down to money, they all get to vote. They all get to vote. I just created my own detriment. I created my own fall because I broke them. That's what the problem was. I broke them and then I gave them power. And then when I gave them power, I didn't think about the fact that I gave power, that I broke the majority. I want to make sense. But I broke the majority, and now I gave the majority a voice. And now the majority voice is off with her head. The majority voice is this. So America broke a lot of its people, both white and black, Latina, Asian, it didn't matter. America broke a lot of its people. The majority, right? The minority made the greatest amount of money, had the better opportunities, generational wealth, all that beautiful stuff. But America broke a lot of its people. But then America had the audacity, and y'all don't take this wrong, don't take this wrong, to be a democracy and say, everybody go out here and you all get to vote, you all get to do this. Then we allow Hollywood to get into politics, and now we got people coming up here, and you got to vote between Snoop Dogg and Drake. Who you want to be president? Entertainment was never meant to be intertwined with politics. But it's what the people want. You know why? Because if you break and hold down and oppress people here, and then you turn around and give them power, they're gonna take y'all. I wish I could preach it, because I feel like this is a conversation I may have with my brothers and sisters in Christ. I was talking to one of my brothers in Christ today, and we were having a top tier conversation. So I'm saying that to say America made the mistake of, and I don't know how to say it, because there are some people that get offended. Or are you trying to say that we shouldn't have a voice, Tiffany? No, I'm saying that America shouldn't have broke you, and they should have healed you before they gave you a mic. They should have healed you. They should have said, we the point therapists. We're gonna change the culture. We're gonna tell everybody that bought their gods over here that we're no longer, because we used to be in God we trust. We're gonna take all that. We're taking our space back as a powerful nation. We're gonna put God back on the throne of our nation. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna start healing our people instead of enabling them with food stamps. Sorry. Instead of enabling them and telling them that they're victims. Instead of giving them a bunch of social media accounts where they can sit back and play victim. Oh yeah. Okay, so I was with his, I think his name is Ithiel. I was with Ithiel, and rather than sitting back and saying, okay, we're talking about decline. I'm gonna talk politics, I don't care. Rather than sitting back and saying, I'm gonna keep financing you for having 6, 7 kids with all these different men, and I'm gonna keep making society pay for your mistakes, rather than sitting back and saying, no, we're not. What's going to happen is, you can't take care of those kids. This is what's going to happen. You're going to be forced to work. Instead of talking about you got back problems. Instead of talking about you were mentally stable enough to break them legs wide open. You parted your knees like the Red Sea. And so now you need to take care of your own kids. You need to take care of your own kids. Instead of creating this mentality, America is sitting back and it's like, now what I see, and this is the decline. Now what I see is a lot of gutter bucket thinking that's becoming culture. You have there's a lot of gutter bucket thinking that's becoming normal. If I had a toddler, I would have to try to explain to my toddler why, when we go out the door, he's staring up the crack of some woman's tail. That's mental health issues that's being normalized in our society. Do you know that where we are right now, what we call normal, do you know in the 80s, they would have said half the folks is crazy here? Do you know that there's a decline? The decline looks like this. We're telling people there is nothing normal about a man waking up and thinking that he was born in a woman's body. That's a deliverance issue, there's a mental health issue, all of that. There is nothing normal about that. And they understood that back then. But what we're dealing with nowadays is that we are applauding it and saying that this, and we're creating different normals. And now slowly but surely, you can say what you want. Give it 10, 15 years. You're going to have people, and they're already trying. People sitting back saying it is normal for them to be attracted to a toddler. They're going to say it's normal for them to be attracted to a toddler. It's normal. Everything that is wrong, if you get enough voices, because this is a capitalistic nation, the government says whatever y'all want. If you're willing to finance it, the government says whatever you want. If you're willing to finance it, it is what it is. It's capitalism. Whatever you want. The government doesn't care that society is declining in their mental health. The government doesn't care that you're starting to see, baby mama culture was never supposed to be normalized. It was never supposed to be normalized where a woman is out here having a bunch of children and she's not married. And society is responsible for those children. And she's traumatizing them because the daddy not with her. But it became normalized. Now you got a lot of women who live with their boyfriends. That's not healthy. And anytime sin gets involved, sin eats away at your mental health. I don't know who needs to hear this. Why we got so many schizophrenic people around nowadays. Sin eats your mental health away. Sin eats away at your mental health. What we're looking at every batch of new generation, you see a decline. Every batch. I'm Gen X. I don't see the decline so much in millennials. I do see it, but not as much as I see it in Gen Z, which means that the millennials won't see it so much in Gen Z as they will the next generation. You're going to constantly keep watching this pyramid turn upside down, where now this becomes normal and they start trying to subject, because this is Jezebelic order, because America is under Jezebel Principalities anyhow. This becomes normal because what we're doing is all about money. Now, can I say this? Can I say this? How many? I know I probably I've ticked about 2 or 3 people off in a toddler, but do you know most money that is spent come from here? Did you know that? The majority of money that America makes comes from here. Capitalistic nation. Sorry. Y'all get quiet. The majority of money that America makes comes from here. Talking to a brother in Christ today, he was talking about what was wrong with the Black community. Talking about how we spend money. It's the truth. If you go into the hood, I grew up in hoods because we moved a lot. Everybody's trying to impress somebody. Everybody's trying to impress somebody, right? Trying to look rich. You see rings going across the fingers, gold teeth, all up inside people's head, rims, shocks, all of that stuff. You see all of that stuff in the hood. And not just in the, you see that, and anytime you see, and this is why America sits back, and even though they oppress, they sit back and they like, okay, we got to let you have what you want because we want that. We're gonna let you have what you want, even though you deal with rejection, even though there's a lot of fatherlessness, there's a lot of dysfunction, even though there's a lot, we're gonna let you have what you want. Right? Should be investing. And the problem with here, again, is that the average person wants to stay average. The average person doesn't want to ascend. The average person don't want to grow because they don't want to walk by themselves. They don't want to be alone. Average person don't want to be manless. The average female don't want to be manless. The average female, you don't understand. If God called me here, I don't want to get a man who climaxed here. Because as I ascend, he's going to become it's going to get hard. He's not going to understand my motivation. He's not going to understand my drive. He's not going to understand it. As a matter of fact, he's going to deal with a level of rejection and he will sit back and complain. It don't feel like you have time for me. You brazen Negro. What? It just feel like, you over there now. What you working on now? This is what's in me. I'm literally like, I have to unpack what God gave me, right? This is how I'm saying. This is how I'm taking the anchors. I got to unpack what God gave me. I don't know if that was thunder. I think I heard thunder. I have to unpack what God gave me. I can't just sit still. I got to get this out of me. All right. You do what you feel like is important to you. So you've already showed me what's important to you. I'm not showing you what's important. Okay. What would you like? No, don't worry about it. And you know why he's going to say, don't worry about it? Y'all want to hear it? You know why he'll say, don't worry about it? It's because he can't articulate what he wants. Because if he articulates it, it reveals who he is as a person. It reveals that he's stuck. So he can't articulate it. So he'll say, don't worry about it. Oh, I got to check that book out. Poor folks don't have money to invest, though. Most contributions start at $500. So the thing about it is, poor folks have one of the greatest investments that they can ever give, which is their time. Poor folks have one of the greatest contributions they can give. You got to remember, you can't. This is a person that came out of poverty. But the greatest contribution you can give, which poor folks typically have more of than anybody, is time. But most of the time, there's that entitlement, there's laziness, there's a lot of different things. I grew up, it's just like where I come from, there's a lot of women having babies and there's a lot of disease. There was a town that was right over from us that was 45 minutes away. If you thought my little city was bad, that town there, they had during their age, the report was during everybody over there had HIV. Because when people don't have something to do, when they're not busy, they have sex and they commit crime. So you start seeing a lot of babies and a lot of crime. A lot of babies and a lot of crime. Whenever you don't have a job, I heard my pastor say this, I've been teaching this. Whenever you don't have a job, that's one of the greatest seasons of your life. You can volunteer. You can volunteer. Get up and volunteer at your church. Volunteer around your community. Build your skill. You may say, well, Tiffany, I don't have anything that I could do, right? I don't have anything that I could do. You can sit back and you can say, well, let me go out in society and take videos. Let me learn how to do hair. Let me learn how to do makeup. There are different things that you can go out and you can do. And you have the time to master that skill. But the problem is when people sit in a victim's mentality, they don't feel the need to master it. When people sit in a victim's mentality, they kind of spend a lot of time on the phone. They spend a lot of time hanging out. They spend a lot of time on the phone. And that causes a depression of sort, which leads to substance abuse and an addiction to sex. Trust me growing up in that community, I've seen so much. And it's not to put people down, it's to put a mindset down. It's to sit back. And what I want to do here is I want those of you who found yourself right here, I want you to understand that you can actually come out of there. I want you to understand that you can, I want you to understand that you can pull out of here. Right? I want you to understand that you don't have to stay here. But in order to pull out of there, what you have to do is you got to come out of rejection. You got to be okay with rejection. For me, at the end of the day, what God has put in me, I have a lot in me, and it's like when I'm finishing up one thing, something else surfaces. I've learned this about God. It's like I don't know how to explain it. But the minute I do something God tells me to do, He puts a burden on my heart to do something. When I do it, as soon as I'm finishing up, it's like as soon as that's coming up, something else starts surfacing. Another idea, another opportunity, another grace starts surfacing. And it's a burden at first because, I don't know what to do. It's new to me. It's frustrating. It's a burden at first. But I'm like, okay, I'll do it. I'll do it. I just say yes. I'll do it. And then I do it and I go through the process and what have you, the frustration, all at the learning curve. And then as soon as I get there, here comes another. I'm saying this is how God do. This is what God do to you. You all have so much in you. And the reason you have an idea that you can't seem to get out is because there are other ideas that God gave you that are stacked on top of that one. And God He's a God of chronology. And what that means is He's a God of order. He gave you a nail business idea, right? He gave you ideas for that. But you're so busy focusing on the nail salon, and God is like, focus on the nail, like master the nails first. But you're too busy focusing on the salon. And so you end up causing a delay because you got step 1, 2, 3, and 4, but you're trying to get to step number 5. You got step 1, 2, 3, and 4, but you're too busy trying to get to step number 5, which causes the delay. Rather than you just sitting back and saying, because one of the most common things I hear people say is, I have so much in me, Sister Tiffany. I'm gonna help somebody. How many of you are like that? I got so much in me and I don't know where to start. How many of you, by show of hands, you struggle with that? You say, God has given me so many ideas and so many graces. I don't know where to start. How many of you say that? I'm gonna help you right now. Show me some people that deal with that. I don't know. Am I hearing thunder? Am I hearing thunder? Awesome. I love the honesty. Give me a second. That's on. Okay. I know we're supposed to have a pretty. Yeah. Yep. That's thunder I'm hearing. Okay. I've heard that a lot. Let me give you. I'm going to show you how to come out of there. When you have a lot of ideas, focus on the one that you have the resources for, and that's pulling on your attention the most. The thing about it is, once God spreads it all out, sometimes your head goes on a swivel and you don't know what to do. Then you go playing with this one, you go playing with that one. That's the sign of immaturity. What I tell people that I do, I got a seal and logo business. I got a publishing company. I'm doing quite a bit of things, right? All the stuff that I'm doing, I just focus on where the burden is. I don't focus, and it took me years to get here. I don't focus, like my seal and logo company. I had a magazine. I got to go back and relaunch it at some point. I had a magazine. There was a time where I couldn't stop thinking about the magazine. It became almost an obsession, right? It became almost an obsession. That's where God had me. Then eventually He opened up the seal and logo company for me. Okay, I got to the seal and logo company. I worked on that for some years before He gave me the publishing company. And while in the midst of all of those, He was still turning my head to other things that He had me doing, stuff that He had me building, even writing books and stuff like that, stuff that God had me doing. I've learned to focus on where the burden is. I'm telling you, when I tell you what I just gave you, it took me years to get. I wish you understood. It may sound practical, it may sound basic, but I'm telling you, what I'm giving you, it took me years to get. Focus where the burden is. Where the resources are, it took me years to finally figure that out. So there are times where my burden is on the seal and logo company. And I'll just go over there. I go through my site and I'm just like, let me make sure, go through here to remove everything that somebody already bought. Let me clean things up. Let me update my systems. Let me do this. Let me do that. I will have y'all go over there and I'll have these ideas for new logos. And I'll sit back and mass produce logos. I'll sit up all night long just creating and stuff like that. Then it'll go away. But I'm a finisher. So I'm going to finish what I'm doing over there. I'm not going to go over there and start something and not finish it. It'll go away. I got to finish it before it go away. I don't know who needed to hear it. I got to finish it before it go away. Because there's a grace, there's a space of time that God is giving me. I got to finish it, because if I don't finish it before it go away, I'll be in the middle of it and I won't be done. I got to finish it before it go away. Then once I'm done over there, God would turn my head to something else. Then I start working on something else, and I'm over here building, and I'm doing this, and I understand that I got to get this out of me. I gotta get this out of me right now. Where I feel the grace, I feel the excitement, or what have you. I got to get this out of me. What I have to do in order for me to finish this right here, I can take breaks and talk, but I can't be so caught up that I'm here all the time, because then I can't. I'm taking from my purpose, and I'm doing this right here. No, I gotta build. I gotta get that out of me. Whenever I need a break, I can do that. I'm saying that to say the problem that we have a tendency to have is that once you have all these things spread out before you, you're too excited. And I understand this is where wise counsel is why you need mentors and stuff like that. You're so excited about it all that, like a kid, you start, okay, if I took candy and spread it out on the bed and I told a child, this is yours, the kid, it can be big old things of candy. The kid gonna want to try everything on that bed. And if I told this kid, no, this is for the year. This is your candy for the year. You only need to eat a little bit because I don't want your teeth to get rotten. That kid, if nobody is there, the kid don't have wise counsel, nobody there to tell the kid to stop. That kid is gonna open up the candy. The kid gonna go over here and he's gonna open up this. Gonna go over here, open up this. When you find him, you're gonna have a tummy ache. Everything gonna be open. And because it's open, it's exposed to the prince of the power of the air. Because it's open, it's going to spoil. He's not going to be able to go through all of that. Do I ever get tired of entrepreneurship? No. I actually love it. I worked in corporate America enough that I hated corporate. I hated working with people. Absolutely hated it. Hated it. So I love now that I can wake up, I can sleep in. I don't have anybody telling me, you're doing a bad job. It's not like clients. Occasionally I may have a client but that's very, very rare. Maybe like once a year or what have you. I do get a few clients that can be a little bit challenging, but they're very rare. Mental health is declining because we're normalizing sin. And anytime you normalize sin, then you're going to have most people down here that are going to, and the culture here is going to continue to infect it. This is going to be your spiritual pandemic of sorts. Your spiritual pandemic, because some of your most creative people are coming from here. Some of your most creative people are coming from here. And they're creating movies, they're producing music from here. They're talking about some girl spread that ego and fly. But they ain't talking about the eagle in the sky. They're telling you to come do that thing. And you got a lot of women that's listening to that. And they're being poisoned by it. And they're getting to the point where they're just like, oh my gosh. Girl, I was talking to this dude yesterday. He was telling me he sounds just like that rapper talking about some spread that eagle. Girl, I'm going to go see him tonight. When it was, and I'm not trying to exalt my time or my era, but my era growing up, if a man said something to you about sex, you slapped him. I'm not telling you to slap these dudes today because you get a bullet. You'll catch a bullet and you ain't Bruce Leroy, you ain't gonna catch it between your teeth. But in my era, we would shove somebody like that, cut somebody like that out, or slap them. It wasn't normal, nor should it be normal for a man to feel comfortable coming up to you and making sexual gestures. Or it's not even normal for a man to get on a phone with you and he barely know you. He already talking about sex. Oh, they logging out on me now because God. That's not normal for a man to get up. If even to this day, if a man is on my phone and he's talking about So what we gonna do? First, I'm not gonna want to. First thing I'll say, what do you mean? What we gonna do? What we gonna do? Me, I'm gonna come direct. If you're implying, are you talking about sex? Are you asking me, are we gonna have sex? Ain't what I said. But I'm just, no. Let's keep it plain. You're a grown man. What are you asking me? Be direct. Put some hair on your chest and talk. I'm just saying. I mean, yeah, you kind of hard. You can call me what you want, but just no. Tell me what you want. And if I really want him to say it, if he playing a little bit of games, I'm sorry. I ain't gonna lie. I may sit back and say, no, talk to me. Tell me what you want. He said, oh, you want to hear what I want? Mm-hmm. Be direct with me. Come on. I really want to hear what you got to say. You know, I mean, I've been feeling you and all that other stuff, and I ain't gonna lie, I thought about it. You thought about what? You know, making love to me? I mean, yeah, I'm a man. I'll lose my number. Bliggity block. That's not, I'm saying you're accepting lower as normal, and that should never be normalized. You know what it made me think today, and I'm gonna get ready to get out of here. But you know what it made me think of today? Since I see the decline, I can clearly see the decline. The generation before me, I know they can see the decline. I know they can see it. But since I see the decline where people are getting smarter as it relates to technology, they're getting smarter as it relates to things, you know, like textbook stuff. But when it comes to life skills, when it comes to perseverance, all of that kind of stuff, people are not getting smarter. There's a big decline in mental health. So you have a lot of smart people who are mentally ill. You have a lot of smart people who are mentally ill, and that's being normalized. You know, I was thinking about that today. If the generation, if I see the decline, if I can clearly see the decline, and I'm not exalting my generation, I'm talking about a realm of thought. There are some things that are not normalized that, you know, Gen X did improve. I love that. But if I can clearly see the decline, it makes me think, how much of the decline did I get normalized in, that I grew up in? Like, what were the generations before? What did they know that that somehow got voted out? What did they know that somehow got voted out? That got somehow pushed out? I can definitely tell you one thing. I know one thing, if nothing else: perseverance and honor. Perseverance and honor. Those two things seem to have went out the window. No, the generations now are so weak they won't keep a job. Oh, my mental health, you weak. The days of man are full of trouble. You're gonna go through some stuff in this thing called life. And if you can't persevere to the point where you can stay on your job, you in a lot of trouble. And don't even think about coming into the realm of business, because trust me when I tell you, it's a lot harder over here. You cannot ascend in the world of business and quit at the same time. Perseverance is lost on this generation. It is lost. It is lost on this generation. I had to go to work with people that didn't like me, people who competed with me, people who compared themselves to me, people who tried to sabotage me. And I had to keep showing up. Sometimes they were supervisors, and I had to keep showing up. I had to keep showing up. Talk about when I got hired on at this company, and this one was AT&T. This one girl, baby, I get the job. I'm excited about the job, right? I really needed that job. Both me and the man I was married to, we were both unemployed at the time, because I had quit Walmart to go work for Tom Waller Kia, only for them to lay us off after 13 days. Now he had got a job at Tom Waller Kia because he had been laid off. So we were good and broke, okay? We were good and broke. And I ended up getting a job at AT&T, which was considered good money. So it was considered good money. So I'm excited. We're talking about like if I get that job or what have you. I end up getting hired at AT&T. And this is just a lesson on perseverance. Just hear my heart. I end up getting a job at AT&T. I go up in there and I'm in this batch. It's like 10 of us, right? They got hired in that class. It's like 10 of us. And so we have to go in there and we're learning, we're 411 operators. So we're learning, what city and state? Well, look, you have to do everything in 23 seconds. That's how, like, you had to get rid of the call in 23 seconds. What city? What state? What listing? Thank you. What city? What state? What listing? Thank you. So we had to be trained, and it's vigorous. It's one of the most vigorous jobs. Like, you can't get up to take a break. You have to let them know. You can't call out. You can get fired easy from that job. It's one of those jobs where you can't unplug your computer. You're going to get cussed out quite a bit. It's just, what city? What state? What listing? Thank you. What city? And your numbers will go up. You have to report, like, why did your number go up? They're listening to your supervisor, listen to you. There was another company that would listen to you. You didn't know what they were listening. And they give you a deviation and stuff. You get in trouble. They can cut into your money. It was a whole lot of pressure. Anywho, I didn't care because the pay was good. I wanted that job. And life had been nothing but pressure for me anyhow. So I wanted that job. We had this one girl that was a supervisor. Made up in her mind she didn't like me. See, I'm teaching you a lesson. I'm talking to the younger generation. You're going to come in contact. Made up in her mind. Didn't know me. Well, I went to school with her back when we were in elementary, but we weren't enemies. We weren't friends. We just didn't talk to each other. She saw me, I saw her. That's it. It wasn't, and that was way back, like when we were kids, like 10 years old. I'm working with I get on there, and I never forget. She seemed to like the other girls, right? The girls that were loud, the ones that were kind of gossipy or what have you. She seemed to like them. I'm not my black card could have been revoked a long time ago. Anything that's considered dysfunction, I don't accept it. I'm sorry. Anything in the black community that sometimes we allow to be normalized in our community, I'm sorry. That ain't me. I refuse to accept that. I'm sorry. That's what leadership is about. Leadership is knowing your identity and sitting back and saying, I don't care whatever group, it doesn't matter. I'm not subjecting myself to that. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with no snitch culture. I don't agree with a lot of foolishness. And so I'm not going to subject myself to that. It doesn't mean that I'm not proud to be black, because I am. But it does mean that I'm not going to let my skin color become my God. I'm not going to let my skin color become my God. I'm not going to let nobody bully me into thinking that we have to have a corporate mindset, when a corporate mindset that has been accepted is dysfunctional. I'm not doing it. You do with your brain what you want. I'm not doing that to my brain. But I'm up in there. I just really want to do well. So it's in my head. I want to be like the stellar student or what have you. We would have these things where they listen to you. They call deviations. They trained us. She would have to plug in. What I remember about her was that she would always be over there with those other girls talking. I come in, I speak to everybody, I'm kind of where she would always be over there with them talking. What happened, girl? When she come over there to me, she was like, let's plug in. Okay. And we get up. I'm like, what city? What state? She's sitting next to me. She stopped me. That's a deviation. Now, during the training process, you can get so many deviations before you were terminated. Y'all, I was hungry. I needed that job. And I felt it. I was like, this is not fair. Like, I'm not one of those people that claim that somebody's mismanaging me, but you can tell based on how she talked to them, how she talked to me, because I would hear them, because we're all in the same room. We're in this room downstairs. Hear one girl say, "Oh, I'm sorry, that was a deviation." She said, "Don't worry about it." But when she came to me, she was like, "That was a deviation." And it was, sometimes it wouldn't be a deviation, other times it would be something minor. I didn't want to lose my job, so I went to our boss. I went to my boss and I said to her, I said, hey, and I'm gonna make up a name for this girl. We'll call her Margaret. I said, hey, Miss Miss Manners, Margaret doesn't like me. Oh, why? I said, I don't know. She said, do you know her? I said, I went to elementary with her, but we weren't friends or enemies. I don't. I said, but eh, she keeps giving me a deviation. So I'm telling her everything or what have you. And I said, I don't want to be that person that says that about people just because they're not. So I want your take. I said, can you do me a favor? Can you log in when she logs in next to me? Is there a way that you can plug in too? Because I'm supposed to go in on at 3 o'clock. She's supposed to plug in with me at 3 o'clock. Can you plug in too so you can tell me whether or not those are actual deviations? Because she gives me a deviation for breathing. I said I can't do anything. So Miss Manner said, okay. She said, you go on at 3. I said, yes, ma'am. See, instead of me playing the victim, I said, you test me. Instead of me playing the victim, I said, you test me. 3 o'clock call. We're sitting starting to do a call. I ain't even get 2 calls in. She stopped. Deviation. You did it. We plug back in. What city? What state? She stopped. Deviation. You supposed to do this. This happened until I saw Miss Manners come and open the room door. And she looked at her and she said, Margaret, come here, let me talk to you right quick. She got up, unplugged from me, or what have you, walked out the room. When she come back in, face like this. And some of the girls, they were like, hey, what's wrong? She said, people is just, and she said whatever, I don't know what she said, I didn't care. But she got up off me. Amen. She got up off me. I ended up working there for 7 years. I ended up within a year, I became supervisor. This girl that she was trying to make it look like I was not doing well. Within a year, I became supervisor. You know why? A lot of you in that, you would have been like, I'm quitting. It's just affecting my mental health. I don't feel like I could deal with all of that stress. That's weakness. How to call it what it is. Because y'all be glum. What this generation is doing, this is the decline of mental health and normalization of mental illness. What you're doing is you're finding buzzwords to attach to your weakness and your mental decline. You're finding buzzwords. You know what? I'm an empath, and that kind of it really takes away from it's hard for me to be around people with low vibrations. You're finding buzzwords rather than saying nobody taught me how to persevere. Rather than saying nobody taught me how to persevere, and yet out of the same mouth will say, I feel like I'm called by God. I feel like I'm called to do great things in the earth. The world of being an employer, working for somebody, is not as hard as it is to work for yourself. See, when you go into a job, they have a system already put together. They didn't went through the hard stuff, and they just tell you do X, Y, and Z. When you're an entrepreneur, you're literally feeling around in the dark. And you have to keep on doing it until you generate light. You got to fail. You're losing money. You got customers cussing you out. You got all kinds of stuff going on. It's not that easy. So if you sit back and tell me, Tiffany, I believe God called me to wealth, you can't quit nothing. You can't. I'm sorry. You got to persevere. God will put you in the industries. He will put you in places where there's something you need to get. And in order for you to get it, you're gonna literally have to persevere. You got to persevere Jezebel's competition. You got to persevere Ahab. You got to persevere Python. You got to persevere bullies. You got to persevere everything. You got to persevere. Like literally, you cannot quit the job. You got to just sit there and you got to sit there and say, "Out, I felt that." You know what? I want to die to myself to that point. It doesn't hurt me anymore. It's not about your feelings. It's not about your feelings. For me, I learned rather than me sitting back and saying, I'm tired of this. You know what? No, I'm like, oh, that hurt. Okay, what do have to do? Like, Lord, make me stronger. Because life gonna keep lifing. It's gonna keep hurting. And so if I know that, then I know that rather than me pulling back, I need to go forward. Rather than me going back, rather than me recoiling, rather than me retreating, I have to advance. And it's like if you were in the military, right? If you were in an Israelite in the military back in the biblical days, and they put your tail in war, part of advancing is going into the thick of the war. Part of advancing, there's a time where you haven't even touched your enemy yet. You're just intimidated. You're dealing with the fear. You can see them on the horizon. Y'all walking toward each other. Y'all on horses and everything. All that. You got all that stuff going, right? But then there's another part where you actually get into the thick of it. There's another part where you get into the thick of it. And when you get into the thick of it, there's going to be cutting and bleeding. You watching people around you fall. You're here and you're watching people die. And you literally have to make a decision. I decided that I'm going to persevere and I ain't dying on this battlefield. You have to make a decision or I'm going to retreat. There's a part when you get in it, and then there's a part when you come out. And you got to grieve the people that fell as you ascended. You got to grieve it. Man, I was really hoping that guy would press through. It's a shame what elevation did to him. Dude's face was deformed and everything. He was growling at me by the time it was over with. Face contorting. Hear me. When you're in a hard place, you're on a difficult job, there's actually something there for you. That's why it's hard, because you still feel it. It's hard because you still feel it. You still feel it. It's got to get to the point where you can go to that job and you can do your job and none of that stuff bothers you. If they're not organized, you learn how to have meetings. See, I practiced that. I was telling somebody that at church today. I said I started practicing that when I was working. I started practicing having conversations with people, uncomfortable conversations. I started practicing going to my manager's office and saying, hey, I need to talk to you. Because life don't change because you have an attitude. Life changes when you communicate. You got to hear me. I'm not preaching from here. I'm not preaching from here. I'm preaching to here. I'm preaching to life don't change because you, and I'm talking to people on every level, so don't think I'm saying you there. Life don't change because you have an attitude. Life don't change because you're giving your resignation. You know how many people sit up and quit? I ain't working for such and so. I was working for them and they this, and they leave a bad review, and the company still don't change. 10, 15 years from now, they still be the same old quickety quack company. That life doesn't change because you gave a bad review and you have an attitude. I don't know what it is. I don't know why it is we walking around this earth thinking that if I clap back, if I cut somebody out, if I let them know, or what have you, let me know at what point did that ever benefit you. I'll wait. It ain't did jack for you. If it's not making a change, if it's not producing any type of fruit or what have you, what's the point? Tiffany, I've just been stressed out. What's the point? What changes when you stress out? Nothing. So wouldn't you say that you're actually wasting your time being stressed out? Yeah. Okay. Why not take that effort and that energy and put it into doing something about it? Coming up with a solution. Why not take that effort and that energy and do something different? Why not take that effort and that energy and say, I'm stressed out on this job. I'm dealing with this person and that person. Why not sit back and say, hey, can I talk to you right quick? Can I talk to you right quick? You you've been making the workplace for me really hard. And I come to work and I'm trying to do my job. I'm trying to figure everything out. And I understand that you have mastered this and this seems to be your field. And you know what? I admire what you contributed to this company. You're definitely an asset. But I think that your tone can be really demeaning. I think that your approach to getting things done can be very it decreases the morale. I know your intentions are good, but sometimes you get emotional when you should be intentional and just giving us solutions or what have you. Because you yelling at me does not give me a solution to the problem. I'm going to keep making the same mistakes until you tell me a better way to do it. And so, what I'm asking of you is that you would try a different approach, not just with me, but with other people. That you would try to communicate rather than come and start yelling and raising your voice. Another thing, I checked out the ethics handbook, and it talks about how we are supposed to approach things. And line 3 on page 74 says that like loud conversations and sharing information like that is not permitted on the sales floor, and you have done that quite a bit. Now I'm gonna have somebody else there. I'm gonna have a manager. I'm gonna have somebody else there while I'm doing this talk, right? But you have been doing that quite a bit, and I've tolerated it. I've tried, tried talking to you about it and what have you. I said, hey, you can take me to the office, and you have not done that. And I'm not here to accuse you. I'm not here to try to get you in any trouble. I got Miss Miss Jackson here, just because I want to make sure that nothing is misconstrued, that I have a witness of what I'm saying, and you have a witness. And if there's something that I'm doing wrong, I will want you to communicate that with me. And you can easily communicate it with me. I'm not going to get an attitude with you. My effort is to grow and to help this company to grow. But I can't do that if I'm coming to work and I'm having to deal with you having and I'm not trying to be condescending, having a tantrum. You see what I just did? Or see some of y'all right now, you still exalting your emotions and it ain't got you nowhere. You better than me. You said it. Cause I be up there like, you got nappy head, you ain't got no edges, and you over here talking, and they ain't gonna do nothing but get you fired. Girl, I hit you in your Adam's apple. Why you even got an Adam's apple in the first place? They ain't gonna do nothing but get you fired. They get you a few chuckles around the office and get you fired. Thank you, Princess Deborah. Thank you. God bless you. Persevere through it. Ask God, give me wisdom to persevere till it don't hurt. Can I take you to work with me? Come on. Come on. Ask God. Say, Lord, give me wisdom. Father, I submit myself to you. Give me wisdom to navigate this. In Jesus' name. Go in there, pray on your way up in there. And then when you feel the hurt, just sit back and say, yeah, I want that gone. And pray right there in that moment, Lord, in the name of Jesus. Pray until it gets to the point where you can be up in the workplace and demonize people around you. They could be up there. You just sit up there. Hey, I'm about to run. I'm about to take my break. You want me to grab you something? I'm about to take my break. You want me to grab you something? I said this to a brother in Christ today. And I'm going to say this here, and I'm going to let y'all go. I said, one of the objectives of a lot of women is to become unbothered. But the problem is that sometimes we want to do it through getting numb and not getting wiser. We want to do it through getting numb and not wiser, meaning we want to go out here and we want to keep dating Tyrone, and we want to keep dating Jerome, and we want to keep dating the Every guy, Pee Wee and all that, we want to keep dating them to the point where we get to the point where I don't even care no more. God, girl, these men, it don't even bother me. Become narcissistic. Just broken. Now your emotions are broken, right? Who can stand a broken spirit? You you want to become numb. But if I could submit something to you, there's something greater than that. That's wiser. I want you to get wiser. That's what wisdom means. And I said this, I was talking, I'll be talking a lot, but I was talking to one of my students. I've told you guys this. This is how I see life. Now, the guy has got me under control emotionally. I'm going to draw it out. Well, I'm just going to. Forgive me. All right, y'all ready? This is where God, ignore this one part up here. All right, we down here right now. This is how your emotions look. When you haven't chased God first and you haven't self-identified, when God has to give you a revelation of self, a lot of times it's hard for you to separate all these things. And so you'll have one that's greater and it will kind of swallow up the other. So sometimes frustration will swallow up all of this other stuff, right? Frustration, your alarm starts going off because you right now you don't know what you selected. I was telling her I was in my car one day and I was driving and I felt frustration, but I also felt gratitude. I can feel frustration. All the things I got coming up, I could feel frustration. I had a couple of, not so fun clients, and I could feel the frustration. I could feel it. But the thing about it wasn't in me. It just felt like it was tapping me on the shoulder. It was tapping me on the shoulder. It was like, hey, I'm here. I also felt gratitude. And what I was saying to her is I've learned that once you get yourself together, your emotions they come out and they're like buttons. You get to select which one you're gonna feel. You start realizing how much control you have. So if somebody does something offensive, I can choose not to be offended. In the beginning, because of where I grew up, how I grew up, and the stuff I went through, I didn't feel like I had a choice. As soon as somebody did something offensive, I went straight to offense. As soon as somebody did something offensive, I went straight to offense, and it was, she got one more time. She got one more time. I'm going to snatch every last one of her eyelashes out one hair at a time. I'm telling you right now, she got one more time. Nowadays, not so much. Nowadays, I get to the side, and I'm trying to show you that you have control over your feelings, right? Somebody could do something to frustrate you. They could do something to aggravate you, to offend you, to sabotage you. Because sometimes, hear me, sometimes people do evil things to you to get you in your feelings. So somebody on your job that's intimidated by you can get you to self-sabotage by getting you in your feelings. This is why you want self-control. See, if you don't master self-control, then you're gonna get caught up in people control. I realized while I was in the car, I felt frustration, I felt gratitude. I felt frustration, I felt gratitude. I realized it was, to me, I almost envisioned these buttons in front of me. And it was almost like I was like, frustration, I can actually think about what's frustrating me and I can actually kind of ponder on it or what have you. And I can pull revelation out of it, but I would have to spend time in frustration. Or I can focus on what I'm grateful for. And I was like, ding, I push gratitude. I push gratitude. I push gratitude. You notice that the buttons are frustration, gratitude, ignore. I can just completely ignore it all. But I still got to visit it again, right? If it's a pressing issue, panic. Panic. You know what I'm trying to show you? When you go into the workplace, you have control but you're not aware of it. You may not be aware of it. When you become more self-aware, you'll find yourself in the middle of a situation and you'll be like, I don't feel like feeling offended. That's why literally where I'm at now. I'm not saying I'm perfect, and I'm saying there are times where I may get offended. I had a moment the other day at Office Depot that let me know. I was like, yeah, after this film, I got to take a break because the man at Office Depot, I was trying to get some flyers for my event, and the man at Office Depot just kept getting real loud at me. And he was trying to put paper in the printer, and I was like, no, I don't want to get that paper. He was like, that's what I asked you. I said, no, you didn't give me many options. You gave me this. And it's like people around. It's like 10 people. And I'm talking, he's creating a scene. He's an employee. He was like, I asked you. I said, sir, lose the attitude. And I'm not saying I was ugly to him, but I was direct. And, and I was like, okay. Honestly, I don't even know I don't know if I believe I did something wrong. But I told him, I said, sir, lose the attitude. I placed the order for flyers, not an attitude. I didn't see an attitude on the menu. He was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I wasn't trying to get an attitude. He was like, I'm so sorry. I wasn't trying to get an attitude. I just don't work in this apartment, and I, just a little bit frustrated. I said, I completely understand that, but when I went on the website and placed the order, I did not see attitude up there. I placed the order for flyers. That's it. I placed the order for flyers. By the grace of God, a young lady walked up to me, and she saw, are y'all here? Y'all quiet on me. But a young lady walked up to me. She saw me, and it was very thick over there. Like they were frustrating everybody. So this lady walked up to me and she was like, how many flyers are you printing? I said 200, about 200. She said, you ever heard of Prima print? Prima flyers or something like that, Prima print. And I was like, no. She said, you're gonna pay more than 2 times more here than you will pay over there. She said, you're gonna pay more than 2 times here than what you will pay over there. And I honestly, I don't know if I believed her initially. I just wanted to get it over with. She was like, it's in Atlantic Station. I'm like, dang, that's gonna be a long drive. That's gonna be a long drive. I don't know if I want to drive into the heart of Atlanta or what have you. She said, sir, can you tell how much is she gonna be paying for those? Now he's still walking with an attitude. Sir, how much is she gonna be paying for those? He looked and he was like, I can look it up in the computer. He said, you don't want to order? I said, I want to get the price. He wanted me to go away so bad because he didn't want to print no 200 and something. And that's another whole lesson for business owners. Be careful who you hire, because I learned a lot from watching the kind of customer experience. I study those type of people, and I think to myself, I would fire that person. I would get rid of him. I don't care if he got 20 years. You're not gonna run customers out of my store, not because of your feelings. Like, we're not doing that. But he was like, you don't. I said, I just want to get a price. He looked and he said 200. He said 149. The whole time he was talking, she had her phone out and she was like, you want gloss? You want this? You want that? Then she held up her phone. For what I was paying, would be paying over there for 149 is $60. It was $60 at Prima. And she said, no attitude. Oh no, she didn't work there. She was one of the customers. Matter of fact, when I first walked in, I saw her. And I remember seeing her that she looked aggravated. I just remember seeing her, what have you. And I initially thought that she was kind of bullying the employees, but she wasn't. The employees just didn't know what they were talking about. They were literally lost. They were literally lost. And so she was just there to get like her passport picture done. What have you. She was just trying to get that. But I found out why she was frustrated. So thankfully, by the grace of God, she sent me to Prima. I drove down to Prima yesterday, or day before yesterday, and I paid $60 for what I was going to pay $149 for here. A little shout out for Prima. You can actually order online, but it was you can actually order. But I ordered my banner. You can go to my Instagram, and I posted up pictures of the banner and stuff like that. But I got a good deal. I'm saying this to say, thank you. We're just here taking in wisdom. I love it. I'm saying this to say, and I want y'all to remember this. All right. You get to choose. I want you to become more aware of that. It's not that my emotions just became discombobulated or they just started sorting themselves out. I just became more self-aware. I became more aware of the fact that I get to choose how to feel. Even in that moment, I was talking to myself. Even in that moment when the man had an attitude, the first I said to myself, this gonna last just a few seconds. Just get this over with. But he wouldn't stop. He just kept saying, when he kept trying to give me limited, this was a form of control. Give me limited selections, and then fuss at the choice. And then when he printed off a copy, and I told him that's not what I wanted, he was trying to bully me into taking it. He was like, "Well, that's what you asked for." No, I said no. I said I asked for this, and I said she went got the paper. He was like, "But you didn't. That's what you asked for." He's standing there, he'll get quiet because he's waiting on me to say, "Don't worry about it, I'll go ahead and take that." I wasn't saying that. I wasn't saying that. And I said, "No, I'm not, sir, I'm not settling for that. I'm paying my money. I'm not paying for something I didn't want. I don't want." And he just kept on, and I said, lose the attitude. I said, lose the attitude. I didn't place an order for an attitude. I placed an order for flyers. I didn't see attitude on the menu, lose the attitude. The point that I want to make with you guys, and this is, even though society is declining in mental health, you don't have to decline. Right? If I'm paying, I want what I want. I grew up in a family that my mom was incredibly passive, right? I grew up around extreme passivity where people would just kind of fold. And that was a stage in my life where I would have those moments of folding just to keep, and man, when I tell you I'm so beyond it, when I tell you I'm so out of it, like at the end of the day, like no. If I'm sick, if it's something I'm paying for, something I paid for, I don't care. Customers are always right. Oh no, no, no. But I want you to become more aware of this. So whenever you're in the middle of a stressful situation, it becomes stressful if you keep selecting the wrong emotion. If you keep selecting frustration, go up in there and select gratitude. Say, and find something to be thankful for. I'm grateful that I have this job. I'm grateful that I have my right mind. I'm grateful that that crazy little bad looking girl over there that keep trying to act up ain't got no authority over me. She can act up. She's a dancing demon. She's a dancing demon. I'm not gonna focus on her. I'm gonna focus on what's good. And I'll say this. I think one thing I've realized that I had a tendency to focus a lot on negative rather than, for example, and this is how I've grown. There was a point where we got my film coming up. I would focus more on the people who weren't supporting me than the ones who were. I would focus more on the people that I felt like weren't supporting me, and I would go into this is for the creative, this will help you. I would go into a place of offense and frustration because I'm like, how you local and you not supporting? How you local? You supposed to be this, you supposed to be that. That's all right. I ain't gonna do support. What have you? God had to grow me out of that. God taught me. He said, "Daughter, choose gratitude." Now I focus more on, wow, look at all the people that are coming. Look at all the people that are showing support. Look at all the people. Whoever sponsored the ticket, thank you so much. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. I focus on like this right here, that sponsor, that gives me joy. Because this is somebody that said, hey, listen, I'm going to sponsor somebody else because I'm not coming. That gives me joy. Rather than me focusing on everybody that make 244 excuses. And anytime I have an event, there's the same people be like, I ain't gonna be able to come. Girl, I fell off a bar stool. Okay. Which butt cheek you broke? Well, it ain't break, but I feel like I cracked a, kind of cracked the bone over in that butt cheek. Okay, well, you get to choose how to feel. I want you to remember that. This is how you keep your mental health. This is how you become strong mentally. It's not about becoming numb. It's about becoming wiser. The wiser you become, the more you realize you have control over the elements, you have control over the things that are around you. You can't control people, but you can control yourself around people, and you can take away people's ability to control you. Because if a person can frustrate you, they have a measure of control over you. If a person can offend you, they have a measure of control over you. If a person can scare you, they have a measure of control over you. If a person can get you to move in any way, if a person can get you to quit, they have a measure of control over you. So you want to focus on getting wiser so you become unmovable. Listen, don't quit it. Don't quit it. Come support the movie if you can. Come on. If you can, come on. But come on, I would love to see you there. I want to become unmovable. I literally want to become that person that I just think about, just movies and you just somebody standing there and somebody kicking and hitting them and what have you. I literally want to become, but I don't want to be numb. That was a time when I thought numbness was the answer. No, I don't want to become numb. I want to be wiser. I want to be wise enough to look and say, that child broken. That child's that child, she needs some deliverance. She needs some healing. Healing balm of Gilead, get her. I want to be able to sit in the midst of it and not be bothered by it, rather than me finding a way to get away from it. You get what I'm saying? Rather than me finding a way to go back to a place where I'm like, okay, this feels good. No, because life gonna keep life and I'm gonna come in contact with that spirit again. I'm gonna come in contact with that issue again. I may not come in contact with it at work. I may come in contact with it on my job. You can come in contact with it on your church. You can come in contact with it in your family. You can come in contact with it in a relationship. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that I'm equipped, that I get wise. And I'm gonna give you a little bit of something. Did you know that God doesn't necessarily give you the wisdom to deal with a thing? You have to ask for it. He'll give it to you. But God gives you He gives you the wisdom as you deal with a thing. So that means our problem is, you know what? I'll go do it as soon as God tells me what to do. Sometimes you got to sit back and God. The only thing God tells you to go through it. And you're like, well, can you give me the wisdom? Can you prepare me? Make my, and as you start, no, God says, go in. And as you going in, God starts giving you the wisdom. As you're going in, God starts ministering to you. While you're sitting there on that job and that girl over there, she talking to the other coworker, and they go like, girl, as you're sitting there, God will minister to you. God will say, ignore him. God say, wait. God said, walk over there and give her a hug. Give her a compliment. He will minister to you in it. He will minister to you in it. He'll tell you what to do. Sometimes we're waiting on God to give us the tools, the resources, the relationships for us to go and do what he told us to do. No, he gives it to you as you go through. He gives it to you. Once you sit back and say yes to God, God, listen, there are two things that are going to happen. And I'm going to let you go for real. Two things that happen when you say yes to God. God starts opening the windows and give you resources. And then God just starts talking and he does not stop. I don't know if y'all know he a talkative God. I tell people that all the time. He a talkative God. He gets so happy. Like, you can hear me? You can hear me? And he'd be like, I want you to do this and do this and do this and do this. And he'll just put you and he'll just give you revelation. He gives you wisdom because God is always looking for somebody who has ears to hear. He's always looking for somebody that's tuned in to him and not tuned into their feelings. The more you tune into your emotions, the less tuned in you're going to be to him. You want to tune out of your emotions and say, yeah, I feel you. This is when I was in the car. I was like, I feel frustration. I feel you, but I really don't feel like entertaining you right now. So I'm choosing gratitude. I feel you, and I can go in there and I can get revelation because I'm anointed. I'm called by God. I'm chosen by God. I can go up in the frustration and I can take revelation out of it. But I'm in the car and I was like, yeah, I don't feel like it. I don't feel like feeling that right now. So gratitude it is. And I'm like, God, you're so good. I just want to thank you for this. I just want to thank you. You are amazing. Like, God, you really love your people. And the way you love on me, God, I've never been loved on like this before. Father, I did a lot of stupid stuff in my life. I was in relationships. Father, if you took all the fake love or the love I got from those relationships, including family relationships, they don't even add up to 1% of your love for me. You are faithful. God, you have healed me. God, you have delivered me. You loved on me, my King. You are my everything. Father, I give you glory. I give you honor and I give you praise, God. I just want to be used by you. Lord, keep me because I never want to go outside of your will. I never want to exalt anything above you, not even my feelings. Your will be done in my life. I choose your will over my will. I choose you over me because you are good. Let your name be glorified. I trust you and I love you and I honor you. I worship you. That's gratitude. Notice I'm not up in there talking so much about I want a house, I want a car. This is what I love about God. This is what I learned about him. This is what I love about him. He'll give you the desires of your heart. All he wants you to do is take the right attitude to chase him, right? That's it. I can sit there and say, Lord, I love you. I honor you. Thank you for saving me, delivering me. Thank you that I'm in my right mind. God, I have met people who haven't even been through 10% of what I've gone through. They lost their mind. You kept me, God. And I bless your name, Father. I honor you. The whole time I'm saying that, God is doing like this. What? Let me look at her heart and see what she wants. Let me look. Oh, because I want to bless her. I want to give her all the desires of her heart. I want to bless her. I just want to bless her. She said, okay, this is her dream house. Okay. And he says, okay. Yes and amen. God says yes. You tag team God's yes when you say yes to him. It is asinine and it is narcissistic to think you're going to keep telling God wait and telling him no, and you're going to tap into his yes. No. Father, I give you honor. I give you glory. What would you like me to do? I say yes to your will. Use me. Father, I'm your ambassador. Use me. I yield myself to you. I don't belong to me. I belong to you. Father, use me. I surrender. Use me. You use me even in the presence of people that don't like me. Use me. Father, give me your heart for them. That's the prayer you pray. When you go on that job, give me your heart for them. Help me to see them the way that you see them. Help me to love on the way that you want me to love on them. Father, I yield myself. I'll be your vessel. I won't be an individual. I don't want to be separate from you. I want to become the embodiment of who you are. Use me. Use me. When I go into that lion's den, Father, take over. Have your way. Let your love, because I know you desire to touch your daughter. I know you desire to heal your daughter. I know you desire to save your daughter. Father, use me. You need somebody up in this job. You need somebody up in this company. Use me. I say yes. You can use me. I say yes. Use me. I yield myself to you. Use me. Did you know that worship helps you to keep the health of your mind? Did you know that gratitude helps you to keep the health of your mind? Did you know that staying out of sin helps you to keep the health of your mind? Did you know staying out of gossip helps to keep the health of your mind? Use me, God. I'm saying yes to you. And the whole time I'm saying yes, submit yourself to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. I'm going through deliverance. There ain't no deliverance minister standing there telling me, now go get your deliverance minister, get delivered. Because for me, I'm gonna go to a deliverance minister when I need. But I'm saying I'm getting levels and layers of freedom because I'm sitting there and I'm saying, yes. Use me while I'm scared. Even when I feel offense, Lord, help me to get out of it. Use me. Use me. I yield myself to you. For you are worthy. You're worthy of all the praise. Isn't he worthy? He's worthy. He's worthy of you saying yes. He's worthy. We have a tendency to say yes to men who said no to God. To the guys, you have a tendency to say yes to women who said no to God. And then you turn around and wonder why you keep on tapping into God's no. And I want you to say that God doesn't necessarily give you a no, where you keep trying to tap into the yes, but you're too drunk and too intoxicated where you can't find it. I can't get the button. Can't get the button. Yeah, I can't get the button. Realistically speaking, what I'm saying is this. Choose God, chase God. Chase them harder than you chase a man. To the guys, chase them harder than you chase a woman. Let God heal you. Forgive the people that hurt you. Be intentional. Go up here. Go all the way. No matter how much dying you got to do, go all the way. He looking for somebody. Go all the way. Lord, I'm telling you right now, I don't desire to be married more than I desire to be used by you. Who heard that? I don't desire to be married more than I desire to be. I want to be married. I look forward to it. But I prefer, I want to be used by you. I want to be used by you. I don't want to trade my purpose for a penis. I want to be used by you. Now I could be in my purpose with a penis. That gonna be fun, right? Okay, bring them. I'm looking forward. Come on, Lord. I'm looking forward to being married. But I would much rather, not that I have to choose between the two, but I'm saying this to say my pursuit is not of a man. It's not for a man. My pursuit, I'm not looking at guys and no. My pursuit is of the kingdom, or my purpose in the kingdom. What would you like me to do next? Where would you like me to heal next? Where would you like me to die next? Because I want to become everything you designed me to be. When I come before you, I want you to say, well done, good and faithful servant. I often imagine walking into heaven or walking into the presence of God and seeing loved ones and angels clapping as you're coming in. Well done. Woo! Woo! Woo, 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 woo! They ain't gonna be barking, but I'm just saying, clapping, because you made a decision that when you were put on the earth and you were put inside of that body of yours, and when culture tried to hold you down, when culture said, go out here and choose a man, chase a man, all of that stuff, you said to culture, get thee beneath me. Because what I'm going to do, I'm going to create culture, not be subjected to it. I'm going to create culture. I'm going to go out here and I'm going to do everything God designed me to do, because I'm not about to submit to a crazy, demonic, toxic culture that tells me that I'm less than a human being. I dare not submit to that foolishness. Nope. I will stand outside of culture. I will keep doing what God told me to do until culture sits back and submits to. I will create. I'm not submitting to the culture of we say, okay, this is American culture. No, I'm not submitting to that. This is what you're supposed to do as an American. I don't give three rats feathers. I don't give three rats feathers. No, I'll sit back and say, hey, that ain't normal. That ain't good. Period. And I ain't doing it. Well, you're not invited. Okay. Trust me. God allowed me to get used to that. I don't care. It doesn't hurt. See, this is the thing. God's trying to get you to the point where you can look and say, it doesn't hurt anymore. That's when you know you did. It doesn't hurt anymore. It doesn't hurt anymore. The world will have you think you're traumatized, sweetie. No. I died to myself. I got to get out of here. I'm going to let you guys go. But I'm saying this to say, go out here and grow into your potential. And don't be subject to this level. Don't be subject to the world. This is what the spirit of the world is. Ascend. And don't try to get in a relationship down here, because then you're going to be disappointed, right? And then you're going to go through a breakup when you start ascending. So take your time, grow, chase God. He says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and everything else will be added to you. He'll give you all the desires of your heart. All he wants you to do is focus on him. You got some praying to do. I love you. Listen, do me a favor. If you are in Atlanta, Georgia area, this coming Saturday, here we go. I'm posting it up right now. This coming Saturday, we have this event here where we're going to be showing my short film. This coming Saturday is going to be at my church in Powder Springs. It's going to be amazing. It is a black tie event. We're going to be dressed up. We're going to have our hair, my nails done. We're going to look good. But we're going to have a lot of fun. So register for it if you're not here locally, or if you're here and you don't feel like you can make it, which I want to fight you if you feel like you can't make this. I feel like you can, unless you're working. But if you're not here, use a link, sponsor somebody. If you sponsor somebody, make sure you write sponsor instead of writing your name, so we won't assume that you're coming. But they're $20, so I would love for you to either come or sponsor somebody. Sponsor somebody, because we do have some people that want to come that can't necessarily afford to come. But I love you guys. I pray for y'all. I pray that your day is great, and I will see you again really soon. All right. And Sister Takara, thank you for moderating. Love you.